right. Yeah, no. This one's going to be different. This one's going to be different.
I'm just better. I'm just better.
The controller, your face in the screen, man. You're not Asu.
Oh, sometimes if you just put your forehead to the screen, you're actually just better. You're just better.
This is my hell. This is my nightmare.
It's okay. Here.
I told you I warm up though, Vicky. This is not me. I need to get going. I need to get games in. You know what I'm saying?
This is like the 6th warm-up though.
All right, that's not the point. That's not the point. It might be the 6th warm-up. I'm working. It's cold. We're in Japan. It's 20 degrees.
Sorry to interrupt, Mr. Day.
Yes.
You're needed on stage. The show's about to start.
Looks like you gotta go.
I would have beat you though. I would have beat you.
I made it over to the stage. We do have work to do. Vicky, she can be distracting. You know what else is distracting? The lights here at Sapporo, the crowd here at Daiwa House, and the fact that 150 days ago, we were in Mannheim, Germany, crowning a Split 2 champion. Those players are here, albeit on different squads, looking to hold a more elusive trophy. Of course, the championship here as we continue day one's action at the ALGS. It is such a phenomenal time. Thank you for staying with us all around the world for what will be our final series of day one, and it's going to be a good one. My name is Rain Day. Welcome back onto the desk. I'm joined by some new faces, although some familiar ones. Zeph, you were here on the earlier desk, but Jayhawk, welcome, my man. He's joined us, and Lace as well. We've been seeing around the broadcast, all over, doing that great work, joining us here. But Jay, you've been working your butt off, not necessarily in front of camera for us right now, but behind the scenes helping with a few of those videos we saw.
Yeah, it's been a bit stressful. We got to wrangle a lot of players, a lot of content's happening behind the scenes, a lot of stuff has to happen, and then we got to edit all of that really quickly, but I'm excited. We have a few more pieces in store that are going to come out a few days later that I think it'll be really good.
I mean, yeah, this is kind of your break. It looks like, this is when you're working, but actually you're working behind the scenes.
Yeah, I would agree.
So we'll have fun with it for sure. Zeph, we got to see a great showcase of Group C versus D. We've seen everyone now, and it's kind of setting the tone that whether it's EMEA, whether it's APAC North, whether it's some North American fire, teams are ready to play.
Absolutely. We're getting into this point where now it all starts to count just a little bit more. We talked with Snipe and a few of the others. When you're, 60 points behind what is considered a threshold, now's the time to start anteing up.
And obviously, Lace, we've had you on the desk prior. I think it might have been LA that you came on, but it's just great to get a perspective. You've been tracking not just APAC South, but a lot of the players' personal stories coming into this and from previous events we had in 2024.
Yeah, you were saying you were running out of breath before by
yeah.
versing Vicky. I've been running around behind the stage and trying to find players and get the insight from them. But look, yes, I'm not biased to Apex South. It is really nice that I get to chat with a little bit of everybody. But, I got to kind of build the love for our region, and it's kind of nice to be on the same time zone.
Yeah, you and Genome do a good job. It can kind of feel like if it's them two and just you, you're maybe the underdog in the room. It gets real Australian real fast up in here, but it's okay. We love them. And, of course, this last round, you might have seen it, Alliance kicked things off. There were a ton of teams, Zeph. You were on that series. Mia really woke up.
I mean, yeah, if you were looking at this from the very get-go, it would have spelled a different story, especially with teams like Game and Gladiators coming into it. But then we go into the double Pete, right? 3 and 4, Aurora, the rest of these rosters coming out from the region, finally getting their chance to shine as well. Now, granted, though, we did have 7 out of 10 of the Europe rosters there with us in that specific group, so maybe there's some bias.
I mean, it's easy to kind of put it together. Maybe it's not causation, it's just correlation. They happen to be in that group. But Jay, I mean, Aurora, a team we probably didn't come into here thinking they would be a favorite, but starting to look like one.
Yeah, I mean, they made the roster change earlier in the year. People weren't quite sure how it was going to go, but they've proven consistently the last 2 lands that this team is still the same Aurora team that we've seen in the past who was so deadly. They can continue to do it. But as Zephyr was actually pointing out in the green room, in that last set, they were a lot more placement heavy, which is very different than anything we've seen them do in the past. So maybe this is an evolution of who they've been in the past.
I think that's the other part, Lace, that feels clear. A lot of players know if we're going to get a job done that we've never done before, we've got to be a different version of ourselves, Alliance included. However, they are one of the teams that have found a way to win a LAN in this 2024 Year 4 for ALGS. So it is looking well that they've started off so strong.
Yeah, look, it's something that, you really got to keep an eye out for. Even these top-hitting teams can sort of fumble in certain aspects and then sort of climb their way back up, but it's been an absolute grand feat from them.
Yeah, I want to kind of switch also the question to who has caught your eye, maybe a little bit as a surprise. There were some moments from Team Burger that I was interested in. Crazy Raccoon popped off and then slowed down a bit, but they kind of caught my eye. Obviously, split one winners. Anyone catch your eye, Lace?
Look, again, not being biased, but Source X and Y, I don't know if they got the buff from the org, but this team has actually been playing for 3 years together. These players have been in each other's midst for 3 years, so you can absolutely see the cohesion that they have in that sense. Their swift ability to disengage from fights. They've actually been setting up new castle walls and also rampart shields as a back away from a fight. So they'll actually set that up, they'll head into a fight and kind of pull you back into their spider web in the place that they can actually compete.
And I think that is a good sign. It's something we don't often see, Jayhawk. I mean, you look at all the teams that have lost players, changed players, but the teams that have stayed the same roster for just even a year, we're almost, you definitely count them on one hand, it feels like. And it's starting to become a rarity to find someone who's got that much experience with the same teammates.
Absolutely, but I would think historically we've seen that typically that's actually the teams who do the best. I mean, look at Alliance. This is a team that Hawkes has been there for so long. Yeah. He stayed with Yuki for years. All of a sudden they pick up Effect. They've been with him forever, and now they have Unlucky. Even though there was maybe a few early struggles with each iteration of those rosters, they made it work. TSM was the same way. Dark Zero was the same way. There's usually a core you build around, and that's what leads teams to being the best.
Well, let's take a look at the teams that we've got going head-to-head in B versus D. For those who were here earlier in the morning, we saw B play against A, and then obviously C and D just had their matchup. A is done for the day. They get to rest, but they also maybe get to worry because they will not be going into tomorrow having played as much. So they might have to catch up a little bit, and it's B and D who have to fight through those tired eyes, like Hawkes was saying when we interviewed him before, and get the job done one more time. Fnatic, obviously a team that I am really excited to see yet again. This was a team, Zeph, that for me had maybe the most challenging task and maybe the easiest task, which is to perform when everyone knows you should be performing on your home floor, but they got that job done so well, it feels like they are still the team to look out for in my eyes.
I think their macro play has been absolutely sensational, right? It's not a team that I've ever expected to truly pop off and have these incredible moments when they come to some of our lands, and honestly have been looking for the source that we usually see when they are within their own region. And for the first time at an international land, Fnatic is roaring out of the gates in a way that is representative of APAC North as a whole.
Okay, so we kind of hit on this idea of which team has your eye on. I want to go back to it and expand a little bit on Source, Lace. I know this is your team to watch in this group. You mentioned they've been together for so long. Why is this a team that we need to pay attention to heading into our final series?
Look, their plays are absolutely wild. So, a lot in Apex South, you sort of watch them. They actually disperse a little bit as a team. So they're not always predominantly playing close-knit together. Like I explained before, they sort of build themselves a little safety fort just to retreat to, but they'll actually go out and sort of pick angles and play a little bit separate, and then when time comes to crunch, if something happens, they'll retreat to that sort of fort. And that is a crazy play that I've seen throughout the series from them, and it seems like it evidently works for them, especially when they're hit with third party after third party. So I feel like they've got a little bit of something that, a lot of other teams don't seem to do, and that's kind of the Apex South way.
And they're an LCQ team, right? They came in from the APAC South LCQ. We've got a lot of teams that have performed incredibly well. You look at, I think, APAC North, Meteor in an LCQ run. So we've seen a lot of teams have that strong performance, even though they've come through maybe the non-traditional facets of getting here into championships. Teams could qualify off of points, qualify off of Pro League wins. They could qualify off of previous championship wins. One of the crazier stories about that, Crazy Raccoon, obviously not being at our previous playoffs, not making it after winning the first one, but because they won that, that's why they're here. We'll see them in this group in just a moment as well, yet again. But Jayhawk, who do you have your eye on heading into our final matchup, B versus D?
Yeah, you were talking about Crazy Raccoon and how they're looking for a redemption story. And there's a team that I think has 3 players that are very much on a redemption path this year, and that is Virtus.pro. All three of these players, Zach, Mazer, Lou, Slayer, have not really had the most ideal of journeys throughout this year, and yet still they find themselves on this championship stage. And in that first set, they had 46 points, which is a really good pace to have if you want to make it into the winner's bracket. So they're looking strong, but at the same time, I think the fact that they haven't had that ideal journey has given them a reason to take risk. They play Caustic. Nobody else is doing that. And in this meta with Newcastle, it feels a little counterintuitive because the wall can just completely eat up the ultimate, and yet they're still choosing to do it, and they saw success. Some of their best games in that set came from Caustic. They're still a little indecisive. They played Catalyst in 2 of the games instead of the Caustic. So I'm interested to see, do they commit to it? Because I do think it really worked for them.
It's interesting. There's always the meta, but then there's the antidote to the meta. It's kind of like the, what everyone gets used to. Then there has to be some answer that nobody's playing. If enough people play it, well, then that's the new meta. So maybe they are onto something. I'm a little surprised knowing in Split 1 they were really committed with Lou and Monsoon and Kimchi were playing on Complexity to include the Rampart. So they like to mix up with that third player. And obviously at Lace, every team has their own way of doing things. There's an opportunity to catch up with some of these players as well that I think you had earlier on today in our player lounge.
Yeah, well, I just want to touch on it. I actually got to chat to Zach specifically about why choosing Caustic. And he did seem pretty confident to actually keep playing that, obviously on E-District or something like World's Edge because of, more of the building pool zones and stuff like that. So I actually have to disagree. I feel like they might actually keep up this meta from the way that we was kind of have that conversation.
Okay, all right. Well, you know what? We actually were filming while you were having that conversation as well. Let's go to the tape and see how that chat turned out with Zach.
And it's Lace once again, and we have ourselves Zach from Virtus.pro. Now, Zach has already played. They've done one of their series, but I believe they do have a little bit more today. But we're going to touch on a little bit about the first lot of games. Did you try anything new or experiment in a different play style today, Zach?
Yeah, we pulled out the Caustic, and that's very unique. We're the only team playing it currently, and I think very highly of it. I know my teammates in the past couple scrim weeks were thinking really highly of it, so I'm excited, and yes, it's unique.
Yeah, look, we were a little bit worried about it, but, it seemed to work on those maps where, you're in more of a building style, then moving over to Storm Point. I think you guys went back on the Catalyst, so maybe you know something that we don't. Do you think in Match 3, because you won that one, if there was any sort of specific decision that was crucial that got you to that point?
Yeah, absolutely. Slayer, we ran out of our utility, like our Newcastle Tactical and our Gibby bubble. And we had nothing. We were super dead. And Slayer had a really good cat wall that split the zone and gave us enough time to get our utility abilities back up. And that stalled us all the way into the end game, where I used my Newcastle wall to boop them off the cliff. And my teammates hit some really nice shots, and we won.
That's it, the classic boot with the Newcastle. This has been Zach with Virtus.pro. We're going to wish you the best of luck in your next series. I hope that you can have a little bit of downtime and then you need to fire up again.
Great catch up with Zach there, Lace. He seemed pretty confident and, ready to go. I liked his energy.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I mean. I was like, we were a little bit worried about it, looking in and, seeing all the other scope of, meta that people are using. But as you can tell, he kind of, they're pretty happy with it. The rest of the team is happy with it. So it looks like they may be keeping that into these sorts of games.
I mean, heading into earlier playoffs in the year, it might have been Split 1. I know they were experimenting when Catalyst was really, really heavy, including with Shubi and Zap, the Horizon. And it never really picked up, but they were really going after that style. Zach is comfortable going against the grain in these metas. We'll see if that continues. But, another team that has always kind of, at least in this year, been a big part of the iconic kind of organizations that have been in our journey in the ALGS in Year 4. It's disguised. It's DSG. Zeph, what are we thinking about this DSG? Maybe not the one you thought of originally, but with a new look and a new roster.
Right. Strafing Flame, Player K, they've been around for a while and have had an excellent route, at least earlier this year when we talk about APAC as a whole. Now bringing in Arctic, of course, instead of Easy Flash there to kind of fill it out going into the championship. Right now, in a tough spot. 32 points kind of overall, but something that Jayhawk brought up that I really want to expound upon is the fact that at 32 points, if you keep that total throughout the entire group stage, you end up around 90, which historically, across both of our major ALGS lands this year, has qualified you for that further upper bracket stage, which I personally think is all this roster needs to do and are very capable of delivering upon.
And I think if you slice that up, Graceful kind of likes to say 6 points a game, 5 points a game, 6 games, 6 points, that's 36. They're kind of right on that cusp, Jayhawk. And if they pop off, they're almost guaranteeing that they might be able to do it this round.
Absolutely. If you're going for those 30-point, sets, you don't have to be flashy. It doesn't feel like Disguised really stood out in that set,
No.
but that's good enough to qualify if you have the consistency, like you're saying. So if you continue to do that, and then maybe as you warm up throughout the days, you have those pop-up performances, then you're easily through.
There's an element of Lace, and we've seen this before, where there are games within the games. There's tournaments within tournaments. This group stage, a very different animal than elimination brackets and winners round ones, because you don't understand the meta. You're playing these round robins, and you don't necessarily need to stand out. You just need to qualify to the next point.
I mean, is that kind of like a thing where they want to keep the fatigue down and try?
That's right.
I mean, they don't want to try anything too crazy. They do want to sort of stick within the realms of everything. But, this is the chance to sort of do something a little bit crazy to outperform other teams. And, we do see that sort of stuff. And I just want to sort of touch on Strafing. I've watched Strafing for a very long time. And the things that he can do, and now with the added new roster, I feel like, they're going to do a great job.
Underneath that org, I'm not going to mention them now, but we saw them in that reset that saved the match point finals to go another 3 games. Unbelievable. I'm really excited to see what this Disguised roster can do, of course, with Player K, Strafing, Flame, and Arctic representing them. Of course, this also means that we've talked about the teams, and the teams are ready to do the talking now with their plays. So let's get ready to go and hand over to our casters to kick off game 1. It is Dia and Graceful who we get to throw the mic to. What's up, guys?
Thank you very much, Arande. What is up indeed, Graceful? What is up is that we are about to begin, as our analyst desk so wonderfully prefaced for us, Groups B and D. A very exciting matchup, especially given that now we've seen both of these groups play at least once, maybe not against each other, but at least once so far. And as our analyst desk was also setting up, there are expectations of these teams now. We've already got the greats, and interestingly, both of them are in this lobby.
Yeah, most definitely. The 2 winners are here for sure, and other teams are looking to catch up because they are kind of smoothly sailing straight into winner's bracket at this point, because that many points, when you get that high up, then, it goes easy for them.
Now, you and I are going to be starting things off a little differently than we did this morning, beginning over on Storm Point, and then later on we'll get into the E-District. So I know you guys are very excited that we got E-District in here. Trust me, I am as well, but I'm just as excited, Graceful, to dive into a full series of Storm Point with you. And we've already started things off very quickly with Fnatic against Virtus.pro, Slayer being the first to go down, and likely all that's going to happen.
Not only are we diving straight into the map, we're also diving straight into a con, apparently. Yeah, getting an early pick is always nice. Is that? Yeah. I mean, Fnatic starting hot already. You could definitely say that it's due to the fact that they started playing the previous set as well. That's definitely a momentum shift. It could go both ways. If you start cold, you might be cold, but if you start hot, momentum is in your favor.
Now, there's an interesting move by Fnatic. They could have kept looting, but instead they're moving towards Virtus.pro, and where they dropped, knowing that there's not a crafter here, and Virtus.pro aren't going to get an immediate reset. Instead, they're chasing down the rest of the roster to see what they can find. And I think, how did they spot him there?
Somebody managed to spot him sitting crouched somewhere, and they're coming back double way for him. Yeah, they definitely saw him while boosting past him there. Poor Gibby goes down. Lou could not be sneakier than that. And he's getting finish spammed as well, in true rank essence.
That is unbelievably BM, and a crazy catch by Fnatic that early in the game. I mean, the first kill, that's just Virtus.pro trying something. But Fnatic go out of their way to punish this overstep, and now are heading back to finish the loot that they started before. But they may not have predicted that they've got green STERGO coming onto them, and now are bubbleless on the Trident. They're going to lose one. Fnatic have overstepped. Hubris has gotten the better of them, and they're going to suffer things out as a duo, maybe even a solo for it.
When Karma hits, she hits hard. That came actually out of nowhere. That's the risk you take when overextending for just 1 KP. Was it worth it? If they don't get this reset at some point of the game, where it's really hard because they're actually getting surrounded right now as people have already figured out where the zone is going, they will definitely go back into the mode and say, hey guys, maybe we shouldn't have overextended. Right now, Yuka F is currently trying to survive the best way he can.
You know what's hilarious about this? If Yuka F continues to drive and tries to circle back around to Lightning Rod, he'll actually find a full Virtus.pro who wanted this who wanted a little bit of the POI to begin with, and now have so much more. It's just a very funny series of events that have led us out of a very action-packed beginning of Storm Point to now finally focusing Graceful on the fact that the ring is oh my god, he did drive over there. Oh my god, Fnatic are out in 20th!
Yeah, I mean, hey, that's just a sweet revenge. You took us out, now we take you out. However, you know,
you can't write this.
That's just how it goes. At some point, you can't over-rotate for a reset, and you kind of just have to go for it. And speaking of that, huge fight happening on the southern end of the map.
Team Liquid start things off well against Envy, a roster that I'd actually imagine to have a pretty good series this time around, but maybe not this game. Maybe that's not coming for them, as unfortunately Yanya is going to get taken down. That does leave just dropped alive. He should be able to make it over the ridge line in time. There's not anybody waiting in Devastated Coast or Echo HQ, so Drop should be able to survive for plenty long enough to get his teammates crafted and back into the game, but this will set them back significantly.
Definitely. At least Drop got out. They will probably get this southeast side of the map is also kind of free, so they will get this reset because there is indeed a crafter there. However, DreamFire and Enter Force actually ended up bumping into each other there. A lot of people are opting to play Edge now, and I'm wondering if that's due to the fact that of how they POI drafted, or if it's because they've seen other success and they're trying to copy, because a lot of teams actually have been playing a little bit slower now as of the later games.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of our teams, and it is, whether it's cause or correlation or causation, I'm not sure. But our Edge teams have been doing really well. Alliance, a really notable example, is they're going to be coming out of North Pad now, and it's worth highlighting Alliance in this game specifically because coming into this series, they are neck and neck with Fnatic, and Fnatic having gone out in 20th gives Alliance the huge chance to rocket ahead of them.
Yeah, I saw 8 teams on Edge right there. That's way more than normally, especially on E-District was like 15-5 maybe, or 15-4 even. But one team I want to note is actually Meteor. They had a better success than what most people would assume they would have had, and I'm looking to see if they can replicate that, because they're actually on a solid way of making it into later stages for sure.
And Meteor were one of few teams, even on E-District, to be running Valkyrie. Yeah. The fact that they continue to do so on other maps is no big surprise to me, but being able to make that distinction between yourself and other squads, kind of like Zach was talking about in his interview with Lace, and choosing the Caustic, and still being able to make that work is really important, and especially with something like Valkyrie that is going underappreciated. This guys actually are going to eat a nade here, and they're going to swing just as it goes off. However, with Draping Flame immediately going down, they've got to hit a reset. Player K on the Newcastle has the chance to pick up his fallen comrade and is going to go for it now. That leaves Arctic having to gatekeep this bubble, and he does so very well. Player K actually finds the knock with an Arc Star. Disguised could get more aggressive here, but they are waiting for Strafing to heal up.
Yeah, that was a great example of how to play. Like, one team had great awareness, scouted out the rat. The other team had, even though they went down, reacted properly with nades and actually slowed them down enough to get a reset. Now looking to re-engage, and the other team went, okay, it's not worth fighting here. We're most likely going to get third and or fought as well. We're just going to disengage and you know, reroute essentially. But that was a great example from both teams of how to play fundamentals of, you know, being aware and also playing the fight slow.
I'll tell you what, 2 years ago, nobody nades that.
Yeah.
That is a sharp increase that we've seen in the past, maybe even year and a half, maybe less, in the reality of what it is to be a pro player and what you expect in a game of Apex Legends.
Honestly, I would like to see stats on that at later points as well, of how many nades on average do players carry now compared to LANs to LANs, and I promise you, exactly like you said, maybe not even 2 years ago, but each and every LAN, it has definitely increased because people have seen the value of nades over time.
Yeah. I mean, part of that has likely been additions of coaching staff as well. Yeah. I don't think I've met a single coach that is like, I wish my players carried less nades.
Yeah.
It's always a search for that utility, and it's really cool to see how it can be used even then, not just in an endgame fight, not just in sky nades, which look really cool, but for scouting out a corner and keeping you that much safer. Really well played, although we won't go too much into it because ultimately nobody did die. Refocusing on the game and how how it's going. We are continuing to pull over into this northeastern corner, and Meteor, for their part, are actually pretty close by to where they're going to have to go a little bit later. They've got lots of options with this gravity cannon, and still running the Valkyrie, they're going to have even more options coming out of Lightning Rod.
Yeah, I'm not too sure about this cannon cancel with the Valkyrie, but it ended up working out fine. It is a little bit scary because they're slowly, like, they're going from UAV to UAV to get some beacon info, and the Alliance was lurking nearby on height, and we know how hungry Alliance is as well. It just comes down to timing, really, because if they are too slow, they might get collapsed on by Alliance, but if they are too fast, I don't think they actually get to pick the side they want to go onto, whether it be the west side or the east side.
That was through a bubble, by the way. Team Liquid Alienware lost a Gibby through a bubble, rather lost a Newcastle through a bubble in a Trident. That is devastating for them and unlikely to recover. In fact, they're going to lose another as Jaguares goes down to Crazy Raccoon on the exit. Very unusual to see that happen.
That's the thing, when you're driving the car, when it's going up and down on slippery and slopes and stuff, you actually shoot under the bubble because, you know, it might be covering you from up top and all around you, but underneath, you're still vulnerable. And if you have a shield as well, you blast through all three players. So getting down there definitely hurts for sure.
Gaskin and I have been experiencing the pain of being shot underneath the Gibby bubble. I'd say a little too frequently recently. That's been tough. That's been tough. Meteor have continued their rotation over to the scene of the crime, as it were, where we started the game with this Virtus.pro Fnatic shenanigans, and Meteor now sit pretty nice. They've got very few other teams that really want their position, but Alliance are coming in.
And it's not only Alliance coming in, it's Alliance with red armor on effect and double purple armor into triple blue. I am telling you right now, if they get to poke on Meteor and see at least 2 blues, they are holding W straight into that building because they're not scared of triple blue armor with that armor advantage any day.
Now, it's going to be a matter of timing because Alliance do have to look out behind them. We've seen a lot of other squads that try and play edge that don't quite keep their eyes out where they need to, notably on their backs. But Envy, holding onto their fronts right now, holding onto their tops instead, are going to try and hold onto the roof, but do not get to do so as Team Liquid, after making a full recovery, managed to take out another squad. Command Center turning into a bloodbath as well. Enter Force 36, indeed, entering. But perhaps not with as much force as I would have anticipated. In fact, a little bit of defense. Double shields are down, but as these bubbles expire, we've still got Peacekeepers in hand, and Enter Force 36 make the quick decision that this is no longer a fight they want to take. It's not a distinct advantage, it's instead a gamble, and they're not going to do that here at Champs.
Exactly. Just understanding when it's not worth the effort is really important. You can't get tunnel vision on that. The objective is actually to see where the next zone is going in 10 seconds. There's no reason to fight because you have so many options. In this zone, you can still out-heal by healing. This zone, you can still get out by evac. This zone, you can still get out by just, you know, playing it slowly and surely instead of just YOLOing essentially for a side, because there's still 18 teams alive, Dia, and you gotta, you know, you gotta be careful.
Crazy Raccoon are going to pick a fight here. There's really no two ways about it since both bubbles have gone out. Crazy Raccoon are denying a lot of cover. And this evac tower is going to be an interesting source of mobility. Bring out a little bit of the APAC North specialty right now as Team Liquid Alienware have lost in the Azul, but Crazy Raccoon are being struck back at. Justna does end up finding a nice PK shot on top of it. Crazy Raccoon having 2v2 going. Get another one as well as a res onto Obli comes through. Again with this PK shot. That is a huge shutdown on Liquid Alienware, who did really well, played very tenaciously, but just to shut them down.
Yeah, playing like that was actually so good by Chris Raccoon as well, because Obli, Justna, I mean, decided to play that slow despite going for the res. Other guy tried to play around the rock, but it was a little bit too hard because he just didn't have anywhere to hide. He just kept getting pushed by the red armor Gibby with the PK, right? Yeah. And when you're Justna out right there, he just jiggle picking. Once he found the crack, that's when he swings, because even if he goes down to the Gibby, his teammate would 100% clean it up. And for me, that's just super good gameplay.
It was a great fight start, period, from Crazy Raccoon, because they managed to, with the grenades that we talked about earlier, deny the only safe position that you could have possibly played as Team Liquid. And so Crazy Raccoon did have the advantage in cover, and even though the high ground wasn't theirs, I mean, they really made the fight work for them. Now, Alliance are starting to rotate in. They're doing this through the sky and into a bit of an awkward position. Not a whole lot of cover here, but in this meta, cover's not everything, because you've got Gibby Newcastle.
This is actually a spot that Alliance tends to play a lot in scrims and in former tournaments. They know how to play this spot. They even played this before this roster was made. And they definitely know how to hold this out. And this is so much playable with this team comp specifically. But there's actually, the only way that you die here is if another team overextends. If you don't do that, like nobody's going to push because either both teams dies and you get thirded or nothing happens. So the highly likely chance of you getting pushed is maybe the next zone close, like maybe zone 4 closing, I would say. So that's a solid spot for Clinical 3.
Crazy Raccoon trying to make their way up these stairs. They're very dangerous stairs. We've seen that before. Nade's not going to connect, and they make good use of the supply bins to cover their exit. These thermites burn through a few rampart walls, but Crazy Raccoon are unfazed right now. They're taking this fight slowly, but the zone forces them to move on in. Obley gonna make some room with the Eva. Doesn't quite connect, but still, Sangjun helps clean things up with the Mastiff. Obley holding things down with the G7, does manage to move in with the rest of the team into the bubble, taking out Disguised.
Yeah, I mean, that was such a good fight because Crazy Raccoon just literally showed you an example of why you're triple swinging forward. They triple swung somebody, insta-kill. They turned around, insta-kill another, and then they 3v1 again. When you're getting split up like that, like Strafing Flame did right there, I believe, then it's not really, you're not going to win in a 1v3 shotgun.
Source X and Y, not a lot of cover right now, but at least they've got the Gibby Dome for protection. Supernova have gone down. We are into the top 15 squads, but like many teams, Source X and Y are not safe. They and their neighbors, Furia, Crazy Raccoon, Dragons, Complexity, are all going to have to move over into where Virtus.pro started the game, into where Virtus.pro still hold as they've made their return. That giant ring around the rosy that took them to Lightning Rod also brought them right back home.
Yeah, they're actually in a great spot there because if you manage to hold this zone until it closes and then play up against the wall closer to the buildings, you're actually in a super good spot to win. And the fact that it did that from being thirsted twice off the rip is a huge achievement. We're also, yeah, definitely looking to see now as the zone will close in a couple of seconds. At least 6-7 teams are going to collapse on the west side of the map. The real question is, are teams going to evac in or not?
I do wonder what teams will actually end up choosing to take that riskier route. Guild, unfortunately, don't get to, and it looks like X and Y may not either. Crazy Raccoon are looking for a fight, and they're going to find a lot of purchase here. Let's take a listen in with Crazy Raccoon, see how they approach this chaotic mid-game.
내공 없다. 그냥 내 큐로만 가야 돼. 큐로 가. 큐 간다 이제. 저 내공이야. 저 내공이야. 앞에 떨어진 거 내공이야. 돌까지. 앞에 떨어진 거 내공이야. 돌까지. 야, 뒤. 아니, 너 뛰봐. 놈. 뒤 M. 치마가. 짤. 띵. 가지. 왼쪽으로. 왼쪽인. 앞에. 나 죽었어. 씨발, 신기한 색감이. 야, 킬 존나 많았어. 야, 할 거 다 있다, 씨발. 많이 봤어. 나이스. 탑 존나 없네.
Crazy Raccoon are gone. Furia going to be the inheritors of those kills, but remember that Alliance is above all of this as well, so with Stallions, send it on to Furia. Know that both teams may very well die in the next few seconds. Keon manages to survive for a little while longer, and I'm watching the minimap. I'm waiting for the play to happen, and it just isn't. Stallions are getting all the free time in the world to finish these kills on Furia and get themselves back together. Skirwy's going to be back into the game, and it's just Keon left on Furia. Nothing else he can do as Alliance climb to the top of the building in the next zone and start setting up for what looks like it's going to be a victory for them.
Yeah, I mean, Alliance was playing the corner, Complexity was playing center by the rocks, and then BK Gaming just came back as well. But everybody is now just going straight into the building, and we'll see what happens.
Virtus.pro pushing Meteor. Now this is a Meteor that did not have a lot of shields, and now they ain't got a lot of people. Kuma is going to go down. Virtus.pro have this bottom floor of the building. It is not a game-winning play. It is a play for survival, but it's gotten them just enough. They still need to pick a fight with Meteor, as only one of these two teams can survive. But take a look at Alliance. Again, they climbed up to the top, and now with a Kraber on top of it all, and a headshot onto 3MZ. Alliance are in charge of this lobby, and I don't think anyone can shut them down.
Yeah, the biggest thing though is that they actually stayed calm during this West collapse, and now they're getting rewarded. They got into a better positioning towards the objective. Now they get to free roam without any risk of getting pushed from anywhere because nobody's gonna climb into Alliance at this point. And now they're just looking for free kills walking into the zone.
Yeah, I mean, really smart timing on this, and Alliance more than earn whatever placements, whatever kills they're going to get from here. The kills are certain, especially with the Kraber in hand. It is a nice bubble from them to deny any damage off of this Gibby ult, and it will take a little while for that to come back to them as DreamFire collect what kills they can. It's going to be Stallions and VK that go down in the meanwhile. With 8 teams now left, Effect is picking up kills in the kill feed, continuing to put himself ahead of the rest of the lobby as he was leading us in kills already.
Yeah, I mean, we've already seen them being hot, and they're still playing super hot. The main difference is actually they went from having a ton of kills to now having great positioning placement in games. And seeing this like being able to adapt as well as Hackis is between playing, no, we're going for kill this game, no, we're playing for placement this game, is such, so refreshing. But seeing on the minimap as well, DreamFire on the southern end of the side, in my opinion, almost have the best way to win this game unless they get contested on the east side by the walls, because that side is actually the closest side towards the zone. The question remains though, are they going to get contested for this east side of the wall or not? Because a lot of the teams are going to be pushed into the open before they are. And sometimes when you panic, you say maybe it's free out there and you just slide out, and then you run into a team that's already sitting there. Could go chaotic for sure, real quick.
And I will say Gibby does complicate a lot of end games.
Yeah.
Because DreamFire do have a good spot, but a bubble on the outside of this fence line, DreamFire can't do anything about it. It's an invincible cooldown that you really just have to sit there and deal with. Sort of like Meteor have got to deal with being locked out of the building. That was a really cruel move by Virtus.pro that pushes Meteor right into the eyes of DreamFire. And Virtus.pro, they get to come in and just clean up what they started. They locked the door, and that seems to have done enough.
Not only have they locked the door, they managed to not stay too greedy. DreamFire is holding the east side properly like they should have now. Virtus.pro is looking to poke as much as they can on the opposite side, but Catwalks are slowly delaying the fight as well. At some point, these bubbles will run out, and then we'll see who comes out on top. But Alliance, DreamFire, and Virtus.pro looking real good right now.
This is really fantastic from all 3 of those teams. I think the question is what's going to happen. Teams like Enterforce 36, GoNext, Green STERGO, who are all piled underneath Alliance because that is really the least enviable place to be right now. As Furia are going to go down, Meteor will join them, and that leaves us with just 6 teams. Alliance now spot DreamFire, know what's going on, and know that this is the next team to focus. In fact, they're going to focus them with extra attention by sending it onto DreamFire. 140 off the hip fire from Hackis, and DreamFire are wiped off the face of the earth. 5 teams left, and no one is pushing Alliance. No one is punishing this. They set up a Newcastle wall. They've still got time to reset, and Virtus.pro on the other side have lost 1. Lou's getting rezzed. Slayer plays defense, but again, a re-knock onto Lou. We're playing inside of Newcastle walls. We can do so little, but Alliance can do it all as Unlucky comes in. 3 squads left. Enterforce 36 go down. Alliance are fighting it off against Green STERGO in the last 2, and Unlucky is sticking the res through the Catalyst wall, through everything. Alliance Mastiff blast their way to victory.
Alliance. That's all we could say, even though we saw 25 kills in the kill feed because everybody got re-res. Alliance recognized that, hey guys, the team on the east side has the best positioning. I just got an opener with the Kraber track and we got it down. We need to wipe this. Everybody else was busy collapsing from the same side. Alliance, one by one, mopping the teams one after the other. Eventually the wall came out and in their favor as well. They managed to take home the game from a spot. I think they fought about 4 teams straight in a row, by the way, and they were just popping off from the start to the end.
And that was that identification of DreamFire that is really unique to this zone, because I've seen zones like this that play out slightly differently because the actual ending of the ring is maybe 3 meters further to the eastern side. And DreamFire get cover for that much longer. But it is a specific identification of this isn't going to work for them for any more time. Now is our time to strike while DreamFire are disoriented, while they are just entering the open. Alliance earn themselves a 20 3-point victory. Green STERGO coming up right behind them. A very well-played game with 13 points, and Virtus.pro, who I cannot praise enough for their recovery after that early game, giving us one of the best stories of the game, come into third with 12 points.
Yeah, not only that, you know, we can see the power duo affecting Unlucky, having 5 kills each and almost pretty much the same damage, showing that, hey, this is why we're here. We got the firepower. We're both bringing the firepower. People might call me the support because I had the most assists last game. This time, you know, it's you that have the most assists. We can play both roles.
Now, this stat is outdated by the time I'm telling it to you because we've played one game since then. But going into this match, going into this set, the top 5 KDAs of the lobby were Effect, Meltstera, Unlucky, Yuka, Hackis. It's literally just those 2 teams that were fighting for the top spots. Think of how much further Alliance have just put themselves ahead, not just in terms of points, but individual player statistics. They are pulling ahead of Fnatic, who are already having one of their best performances of LAN ever.
Yeah, I mean, you know, we also have to remind ourselves that sometimes, especially game 1, you know, when you're seeing points like 6 points, I think DreamFire had 6 points, they're like, oh, you know, they had an okay game because 6 average is really good. You're guaranteed to make it through essentially if you keep the consistency. However, they were not only on 6 points, they were 1 fight away from being in the most dominant spot that Alliance ended up taking from them. And if you can consistently put yourself in what I call power spots, so where you can actually dictate the pace of the game, one of these 6 games, it will be yours and you will pop off and it'll make up for these other above average games. You just need that one super solid game.
Yeah, and I think Alliance navigated this really well. They entered the conversation very late, playing Edge again, and I keep wondering, I'm going to keep asking myself this question likely throughout the entirety of the LAN, but is it correlation? Is it causation? What is going on with these Edge teams? I'll tell you what, Graceful, we'll have a lot of time to answer that as we come back for game number 2 in just a few minutes.
PC of the Apex Legends Global Series.
Yes, dropping on each other. Chill. Right side, guys. Look at right side, look right side. Look free right side. Yes. I got some. I'm on one. Cat one. Oh, fuck. I'm buddy. On left. Yeah, I'm on me. Yeah, 1 second. Wait for it. Keep pull. Yeah, I will. Hold. Solo. Okay, hold, just hold. Pushing. Baby, on your knees. Baby, trick shot. Fucking go, boys. Holy shit, it's too easy. No touching.
Watching that end game was fantastic. It was beautiful, almost as beautiful as the snow out here in Sapporo. That was almost a plug from the tourism board, but I don't think we got that approved, so I'm doing it myself, and if the tourism board wants to say hello, then that's just fine. Now, we've got, of course, plenty going on here in Sapporo, but the notable event of the week is over here at the Apex Legends Global Series Championship, and specifically the second game that everyone is hustling and bustling to see. Graceful, Game 1 was fantastic. Game 2 of Stormpoint is sure to be, I want to say sure to be even more memorable. That first game did really set the bar quite high, though, and I want to talk a little bit more about it. Alliance, we're going to keep talking about them because you don't get macro as beautiful as that every day. So start me off with their launchpad beginning, because we have a lot to break down in terms of the macro. What does launchpad do for them that maybe another POI doesn't? What might they prefer?
Yeah, I mean, they end up playing slow in the beginning, so this is what I like to call mid-speed in general. They actually came from the northern side of the map. Mid-speed, came in, checked up, came up through command center, went on the north side, followed up, and then later on flew into the corner. You know, middle of the zone. They came in late, flew into the corner. Really risky, high reward. Once again, later on, many teams collapsed from the west side of the map later on. They decided to like, hey, let's not get too chaotic. It's about 7 teams right there. Let's focus on the objective. They took the roof, and from there on, we just saw it all unfold. They just got a shooting range, and eventually at some point, now you have to go, are we gonna win this game or just get a couple of kills? And they saw DreamFire on the east side of the map by the wall, decided to get that opening because one of the members of DreamFire actually overextended, ended up getting Kraber cracked, then getting down, and then that's the push where it happened. They bubbled on him, they finished up the fight. From there on, the rest was history with this amazing highlight that we just saw there.
You know, one of the things that I really wanted to touch on actually that was fascinating was when they transitioned from that weird little stair spot to the roof. And at the time I was thinking, well, why didn't they do this earlier? Why would you play the stairs and then go and play the roof? And I realized, or rather I had a theory about it. I'll talk to you about it. I think that the reason is because before they took the roof, the other side of the zone that had Stormcatcher in it and that northernmost area were still in play. And so with people running things like Valkyrie, like evac towers, there was a chance that somebody slams the top of the building, where nobody is going to slam the corner stairs. And so this is my theory, that they waited until those areas were then out of bounds to take the height, knowing that nobody could effectively slam it when the whole zone was in their visibility.
It's kind of one of those things when I talk a lot about pacing, is that too early sometimes is not good. Too late is definitely not good because you get held out. Yep. And that's definitely, I agree with what you're saying, but I think, yeah, mainly the area to the east of where the zone ended, the other sides of the building where the cannon, close to the other cannon essentially, is that side sees the roof and they can poke the heck out of you. And really, I think it's all about timing. They just decided to, hey, every other team is fighting right now, let's take the roof while we can. It ended up being a good timing, but honestly, the most impressive part outside of that macro, from being in an evac into a corner into the roof, that fight on against DreamFire, just phenomenal.
I wanted to point something out as well. We talked about them as moving out of North Pad. One of the funny things about Alliance here is that they've selected Trident as the POI, which when nobody picks North Pad, makes it essentially no difference. But it's quite funny to see them pick Trident, because I'm also very aware that teams will also often say that they're going to pick Trident or pick Trident and then dare somebody to pick something like North Pad. And I think that's absolutely what's going on here.
Yeah, Alliance known, I remember almost a year back already, always take, we like to call it Ferrari in scrims. They take that and say, hey, if you guys are picking North Pad, we are indeed coming to hold W straight into you. And they don't care if they lose the game, because they'll do that regardless to make sure that, hey, this is our spot, we want both of these slots. And people, they've done it enough with results, regardless of being contested or not, to get success. And when you have a team that still gets success, regardless or not if you get, into a con off the rip, teams are scared, and for a good reason. They have been dominating the whole day.
Yeah, I mean, I would be terrified of Alliance. I would be terrified of just about any team in this lobby right now, but especially with Alliance and Fnatic dropping in for game number 2. Graceful, it is time to get our second game going, and Virtus.pro are already on top of Fnatic. Let's go!
they didn't learn from the last game. The whole reason why they're doing this seems to be that they want that car really badly. And Slayer tried his best, decided to, hey, okay, I couldn't get it this time. Let's just hop off the map and get a quick reset. Now the real question is, did Fnatic learn from the last game? Are they going to chase or not? You know, we'll have to see.
I love these teams. You can't make this up. If somebody had told me that this was going to happen, I just wouldn't believe them. It reminds me of the funny play that we had back when Armory was a thing, and we had, was it Crazy Raccoon? It was Gambare Oto-san. It was some team that was denying. No, it was Northampton. It was Northampton that was denying Armory, and this is, if anybody's been watching ALGS for a long time, you're gonna know what I'm talking about. If you don't worry about it. Armories aren't a thing anymore, and we're going south. That's where the ring's going.
Yeah, south indeed, refreshing as well. I like to, you know, I always complain about zones being very the same. However, I'm happy to see, because I know how it feels as a competitor to, when you see 3-for-3, 6-for-6 in the same area. When I say same area, it doesn't necessarily have to be northeast or specific, but northern side, and you're always on the southern side. It doesn't feel good. When the games like this, where they have a zone, when you have a zone northeast and also south, I feel like every team has that feeling of, hey, at least one game we should do good, and that's always a great feeling to have for every team in this lobby.
I am going to talk about Virtus.pro's game plan. I don't think I like it. I think it's funny, but I don't think I like that they're basically just choosing to play things out as a duo. Look at what's happening right now. Like, they try and stick a res. They actually can't because GoNext are chasing them down. You know where this gravity cannon is taking you. It's right into Fnatic, and we're playing this deadly ring around the Rosie once again. Now, fortunately, Zach did go on this journey on his own. Lou is still alive, but I've got a question. I think everybody's got a question. What on earth we're actually gaining here by opting into this?
I mean,
entertainment.
Even Zach is laughing at that point because he's just like, what is this game? But this game happened because of you guys. You wanted that car, you try to reset. Sometimes the reset works, sometimes it doesn't. Now they got, you know, pinched between Fnatic and GoNext. At least one of their members is still out. Hopefully he gets to reset at some point during the map. But as people have been playing late game, Edge a lot, we see at least 6 teams on Edge, you know, it's gonna be hard to get that reset no matter which side you come from.
But yeah, I hope our White Shields Gibby manages to get
a reset.
Like, just the game. Here's the thing, Graceful, is that the game actually can be so much easier. Like, it doesn't actually have to be that hard, and it's just interesting to see maybe a little bit of a different take from Virtus.pro. Adaptation, trying new things, it's all part of the game, but it's funny to see this play out in such a chaotic way 2 games in a row and be wondering, what's the thought here? And how are they going to change? Are they going to change? The Sky is certainly changing things up, but this time mostly in their positioning, because they're playing right inside of Pylon, where we are expecting the zone to continue going for the time being. Strafing Flame does find a knock onto Supernova, but this likely won't stick because we've got a bubble there already and a reset surely coming in, as I'm seeing that Newcastle shield already flying.
Yeah, we've already seen about 8 teams moving straight into the next zone that they have the knowledge on. But what ends up happening when there's this many teams is you're trying to fight for space, and this map is not the same as E-District as well, right? There's not that many spots. You don't just allow everybody to stay everywhere. And not allowing anybody to stay anywhere, they're picking a fight in this house.
That guy was tendered up. Wow. Theon actually really almost got that kill in very short order, but Furia are going to get out of here pretty darn quick, not wanting to stick around for too much more. Mastiff doing a lot of work, though. Mastiff, fun fact, is the highest kill gun in the game, well, in this champs so far.
Yeah, in this tournament, despite being nerfed a little bit, it's actually still the major pick by most people. I've seen a lot of people opt for the Eva now as well, with Eva being really strong. But Mastiff, you know, I think it's also massive in everybody's heart. Oh, I remember the good old 1-2-35 in the head as well, is one-tapping people. But the one currently right now is so strong due to bubble fights and Newcastle, and that just remains to be true, you know, even throughout this 5 years of time.
Enter Force 36, moving out of the south side of the map. They don't actually have too far to go right now to stay inside of the zone. That's not really the focus, but retaining control of this high ground is still going to be very difficult because we're getting to the point where having white shields is unacceptable and is going to be punished by other teams, especially a team like DreamFire. You know, I was actually really excited to see I Hate the World back at LAN. That guy wowed me the last time we saw him at LAN. Put up incredible numbers, and I'd like to see DreamFire maybe put on a performance that showcases that a bit once more.
Yeah, I'm actually so happy with seeing the meta get redefined all the time as well, because it allows players to show more individuality. And I Hate the World definitely has been popping off recently and also for a while.
Since we're over here at Stormpoint, my mind has returned. I'm like, well, I wonder what's going on in the lives of Virtus.pro. We're gonna have to look at them a little bit later, but Fnatic have made their way in. This is as slow a rotate as they come, but exactly the kind of thing that Fnatic liked. Actually, we get our answer on Virtus.pro as we get that little notification that they've got some respawns coming in. I wish Fnatic got that notification because I'm sure it would send them on the hunt.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely been that way, and when you see that, I mean, if they could see that, that would not be good for competitive, but Fnatic not, you know, not taking their foot off the pedal, they're still looking for fights here, and yeah, I mean, sometimes it happens, match pauses happens, you know, it could be technical issues, could be whatever reason it is. We are still here to keep the level up high, and I think everybody's excited to keep seeing what happens in this game, but for now, we'll just relax now.
Yeah, I mean, I know our players are eager to get back into the game, but we're just resolving a quick audio issue for them so that they can enjoy the game in its full audio experience, which is very important. Very, very important, Grace. Well, while we're here, while we're keeping that energy up, I'd like to serve up a few more stats. We dropped the ones about KDA earlier. I wanted to give some love to Guild, and specifically to Legacy, because I predicted them in the first round, and I didn't get to gloat because they didn't. But I was looking at the overall damage leaders in the same way that I was looking at KDA, and as of just before this round, Legacy on Guild is leading everyone. Across the day, has done 8k damage so far. I think it was actually more like 8.4k over the course of the 6 games they had played. Moving into this set, I am really curious to see whether Guild, despite their relative silence, get to keep that going, especially for a player who's performing as highly as Legacy in this first day.
Legacy definitely been performing. You know what else has been performing for a fun stat? We've officially thrown way past beyond 1,000 Gibby bubbles in this tournament, actually. And I think that just goes to show how, you know, good of a character that is as well, and it's just fun.
It's the first day. We haven't even finished the first day.
You're right.
And we have 1,000. I would love to know how many we'll get to.
After first day, ooh, could be a lot. I also want to know about the Newcastle queues, would be nice.
Newcastle queues, I know that we were approaching 1,000. Sorry guys, we are back into the game. It's just fun. It's fun numbers. Now Stallions are fighting up against Fnatic. Stallions are not winning the fight up against Fnatic, however, as now it's a 2v1, and I already know Alb is out of there.
Dude, Fnatic just had a pause mid-tournament, which can throw people off. They didn't even get phased. They closed that fight in 5 seconds after the pause.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like they were just game plan as usual. Nothing to worry about, and it works out for Fnatic. It doesn't quite work out for Stallions, but there's still time to recover. I mean, if Virtus.pro have time to recover twice, you've got time to put one more together. Now, I am really curious about Virtus.pro. They are so far behind that they are not even on this map yet, although you can see the little arrows in the top right corner.
Side, yeah.
But let's focus on where the game is actually happening, because it actually brings us right on over to Guild, who I was just talking about. We've got Complexity there as well, DreamFire and Enter Force 36, all sitting around this coastal camp barometer area. And I like the looks of this end zone. This could get very exciting, and there's a lot of open space to play here.
Yeah, as of recently, the zone doesn't really end straight in, in the slope. It normally pulls A side. I'm personally hoping for the west side, but it could be, the opposite, which is completely fine as well. I do agree with you that it's a lot of, open area, but playable area, however, not that much. We're going to see a lot of collapsing happening, especially from the 8 teams in Pylon that are now just figuring out that, hey, guys, it's not ending here.
I mean, maybe if we play it right, we could get to 1,500 Gibby bubbles.
Yeah.
So, you know, depending on how
Plus
much
one.
open space, there's time. You can manage your cooldowns a little bit. Now, Crazy Raccoon are definitely a team that I look forward to seeing there. They're actually holding a decent amount of space right now in a bit of an odd spot. They're playing the edge and playing in a place where you can actually gatekeep really effectively. If anybody chooses to late rotate through Echo HQ, a particular concern for Stallions, who again were on the recovery towards this eastern side, Crazy Raccoon have a very simple time gatekeeping.
Another thing that you see from this is that playing late and then trying to rotate into the zone after Circle 2 is closing is getting more common. We saw Alliance actually get into the zone deeper than 8 teams that ran with the first ring zone knowledge straight into the zone. Could this be, you know, maybe the way that's now paving for all the future early zoners, essentially? Is it no longer worth to go immediately off rank 1, like zone 1 knowledge and just going for straight 2? You know, Hackett has shown success so far.
Meteor find Disguised, or rather I should say Disguised find Meteor, because that was a very quick Nemesis burst that ended up putting Meteor right back into a defensive position. Now they're going to throw out an ult themselves and try and close the gap. So Meteor moving up on Disguised are picking a fight, but GoNext have heard all this going on, and GoNext are walking in third party a fight, already having had red shields as Meteor and Disguised go head to head. I cannot help but think of the disaster that will befall them both as Disguised have lost 2. Meteor start to lose them permanently, but GoNext are already bubbling up to take this win and eliminate Disguised entirely.
Good lurking from GoNext, being able to clean up this guys right there. You know, 2 Gibby ults is a little bit too flashy.
I think so. I think so. Supernova, they got in there, but they got in there a little bit later. Zone's closing in, so they defensively move on out, Arc starring behind them, and it's a little bit of a pathing error from walking that will cost them a little bit of damage to the ring. But it's still a game of gatekeeping. You can absolutely still do this, as GoNext will need to move in right behind Supernova. There's no way for them to really go around, and they're not the only team up there to need to do it. Virtus.pro are still outside of the ring as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's gonna get crazy from this zone because this, like, up until this point, the zone hasn't really hurt that much. This one closing, however, is gonna hurt a ton. With the zone pulling actually east side more towards the coastal side on the height of the hill, it's gonna get iffy for a lot of teams actually, because this ring zone with also 8 teams in your way, is everybody gonna evac, or are you gonna have to run through 5 teams? It's gonna be tough.
I am still, like, those of you minimap watchers, pull up Face It, open the minimap, watch what Virtus.pro is doing. It is some of the craziest macro in Apex Legends that I can remember seeing in recent history. Gibby Bubble going to come out as GoNext start to make their way in. We'll get to talk about the macro a little bit later on. Another nicely placed Arc Star as Uchako is going to walk right on over it, but managed to maintain his speed as a nice use of the mobile shield. Actually gets GoNext into the ring with relatively little trouble. Supernova are watching them, but Supernova couldn't do much.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely hard because you're kind of, due to the fact that you have the Newcastle Q and the GB bubble, they could survive for so long. They even used wall preemptively and they didn't get anywhere with the wall. Could reset, go for another Q combo, and then still make it through. It's crazy, honestly.
Now, Dragons were taken down. They are squad a 19th to be taken out. But it was Crazy Raccoon, who, remember, were playing over by the Echo HQ side, who did it to them. So now moving in, we have to expect the Crazy Raccoon are going to own the eastern side of this next ring pull. Envy are going to have to make their way out as well and likely fight for the east at the same time because Coastal Camp doesn't have a lot of options. All of this open space really only leaves you that small bit of eastern cover provided by the natural rocks to play with.
Yeah, we're also getting to the slot right now into a fight here actually. Virtus.pro came in super late, got into a fight almost off the rip, and it looks like Lou is on his last small feet and he's very low HP. However, that fight is going to be really hard to go because the zone is actually moving in with him as there are 2 teams on the hill in front of him.
Back to just Lou again. Stallions actually can't even focus on finishing Lou because they've got yet another squad in front of them. This is looking really tough for Stallions as now with the ring at their back, they have to take a fight. Crazy Raccoon and BK Gaming are going to go down. Meteor are going to go down. Stallions are going to go down. And all of that before Virtus.pro go down. Virtus.pro, in fact, are still alive.
they managed to take advantage of the fact of the chaotic that just happened on the other end of this of this slope. They managed to sneak in and he's still alive. And you know what the crazy part is? There's also a rest right there. Maybe, who knows? Maybe you could have got something if later on.
You actually can't make this up. Virtus.pro are still alive. They, after being spotted as a solo, after all that fighting calms down, after there was only 1 or 2 teams looking at them, they may still survive yet. Keep your eyes on how many points they're able to accrue. But Source X and Y have got to be our next focus as they need to move out of low ground. And Johnny does a good job of opening up some damage, but it's not quite enough to push for. So Source are going to have to do this by triple swinging. They swing, unfortunately, into a Thermite. EXO going to do quite a bit of damage, but unfortunately it's not quite enough. Source X and Y don't get the team play that they wanted. They overstep, they misplay, and they fall to GoNext for it.
GoNext actually, you know, trading 2 for 3 right there was really good. They have the team synergy to close out fights really well in PK fights especially. You saw it there right there. All of them were triple swinging, but one team came out on top. Just goes to show, because I heard a lot of teams have been bubble practicing as well, and that's definitely one of them.
A really well-placed Thermite by GoNext to do this. Alliance going down, and I think just for contrast, I'm going to highlight it. Alliance going down before Virtus.pro. That's something that we're gonna keep track of it. Now with Envy starting to lose Yanya, this is going to get dicey as Guild start to swoop on in. Guild, who I'm still expecting to do very well today, could start things off with a win in game 2 here to get some momentum going. Now Envy have lost Yanya fully. Not too much more though, and Guild, unfortunately, have been traded back on Legacy. Is going to get this res, a Gibby bubble for a little bit of extra safety, but Phony goes down. Jesk is going to fall as well, and it's just Legacy. A big fumble from Guild as their chance to accrue a little bit of kills just doesn't quite go their way. And Fnatic and Coastal Camp, you best believe they're getting their way. It's a bubble fight, and that means Fnatic are winning it. Enter Force 36 are gone.
Fnatic actually played the southern side this whole game almost, came from the tunnel side, cleaned up coastal right now. As we saw the center action unfold, they cleared out the coastal side. And now, Envy, I believe, might even be a duo? We'll have to see here. Another bubble fight straight in the center of the zone coming out from GoNext, who has been mopping the lobby.
Yeah, GoNext are actually very efficient about these fights. Green STERGO are going to fall as well, but GoNext now own this whole ridgeline. Nobody couldn't really contest them. Envy are down to just a duo, as you mentioned, but at this point it may become a solo very quickly. Dropped is already being focused, and your last member is down over by Coastal Camp as well, so not looking too good for them as Fnatic actually could walk up on it. Fnatic are stepping up with a Kraber as well. I think the scary thing for GoNext has to be that Fnatic are focused on you, and Fnatic are a big favorite today, and they're a big favorite who lost a lot of momentum after game 1, and this is their chance to bring it back.
The momentum to bring it back is a Kraber shot, almost had it. It's almost there. PK and Kraber is a combination you didn't like to see back in the days. Now, however, it's super good due to the fact that most of the fights unfolded in this game right now in this meta is bubbles. And all you really need is a shotgun. The rest you can play sniper if you want to, or AR as a primary. Moving in, however, with this on the southern side is going to be quite hard. It depends on who actually engages GoNext on opposite side, but that's actually... they can actually coexist on both sides of this rock, which is a bad thing for Fnatic because they want somebody to take some heat from them.
Now Complexity's been a pretty quiet team this game. They haven't done too much. They've played in a corner, but now they're coming out to actually challenge some other squads. And it could not come at a better time as Fnatic start taking fights themselves. Complexity are going to get the chance to tangle with them, but Fnatic are taking this very slowly. Huge shot from Yuka with a 140. Clutching this bubble fight for them, making it so that nobody from Fnatic drops. Furia are going to go down, and that means that the fight from Complexity has been stalled. Fnatic get to reset. Complexity are stuck on the low ground. Supernova challenge just a little bit. This is anyone's game, Graceful, but Fnatic, they are looking still very much in charge.
Yuka pulling out over 400 damage in that bubble fight alone. Triple red armor. They have the god spot right now because everybody else is going to have to fight before them despite being on the southern side. They're looking to clean this up because there's actually just 2 solos and 2 teams, and the other 2 teams are in line of sight of each other before anything happens.
This, to me, is really between Fnatic and Complexity. Supernova don't have a lot of autonomy here. In fact, they're likely going to have to fight Complexity. Their other option is to go for the solo on dropped, which is the much safer play, and yet the much less rewarding one, which is a very difficult choice to have to make. Supernova, their choice is going to be made either by them or for them. So we've got only a few seconds left until this ring starts closing. They're running out of cover. Timer's going in a lot of ways that they cannot control. Fnatic still setting up, still holding high ground. Do have to manage two different teams as they're keeping their eyes on Complexity, but Complexity, they know exactly what's going on, and a quick bubble is going to put them right in the center of zone, perhaps in a slightly better spot as Supernova make the election to go finish off Envy. It is that lesser reward that puts them in a tougher spot, one where they likely will not survive either of Fnatic or Complexity, but that did get them an extra point.
I would say that's the right play every single time because you just went from top 5 to top 4. That means more placement points, also kill points. And Fnatic playing really slowly here, almost getting shredded immediately by the Sheila, however decides to bubble early. Other teams right now are just, you know, hoping that other teams play a little bit faster, but with the way the zone is moving, it's taking its good time. Look at this.
It feels bad to bubble early, but it was smart. You don't want to take risks, and Complexity aren't taking risks either. Not over peeking on these walls. Still waiting for bubbles to come up. We've got our first Gibby ult at the end game coming in. Fnatic moving on to low ground. Complexity not taking the height either. Nobody wanting to step forward. Even Supernova, who have managed to survive for so long, are dipping into zone to avoid taking the high ground. Now it's 3MC, the last member left is DreamFire, who's sticking in those top 4, maybe hoping to make it to top 3 as Supernova start taking the fight. It is Monsoon who finds a quick double knock. DreamFire and Supernova are both down, and it's into the top 2. Fnatic, Complexity, it was always between them, and a Gibby bubble plus an ultimate to go down right on top of it puts Fnatic, puts everyone in the dome with Complexity falling. It's 1, 2, and it's going to be another huge win for Fnatic!
Fnatic, oh. Honestly, I'm not gonna lie, I was a little bit scared right there. They managed to actually clear out the solo and be the last to join the fray. I thought at that point, it's a free win. The other teams use their Gibby bubble, we can just Gibby ult them and they're dead. They decided to bubble forward, ult their own bubble, and I'm like, oh no, they threw their win. But when you're this strong at bubble fighting as Fnatic is, it wasn't even close.
Maybe it's, we called this earlier, results-based analysis. But in that moment, I had the same thought where I was like, okay, why did they do that? Like, literally, why did you do that? And then I had this thought, Graceful, and I think this is actually real. I'm canonizing this in my head. I think that they bubble and they ult the bubble because they go outside the bubble is not safe. You must come inside the bubble. And this is where we will win. I think it's the Thunderdome play. You know, you go, listen, you can't stay outside. You must be in here. Because it works, and it works really, really well for Fnatic there.
It ended up working out well. I would still go on the tactical side of saying, let's just do it. One Gibby ult and free win the game. But if you want to make it interesting, and they have been the whole day, that's definitely the way to spice things up.
Yeah, and I mean, to keep things even more interesting, this 27-point victory now puts them right back in the conversation. The Lions had taken off really far ahead of them, and this game only whipped up a single point.
Yeah, I mean, you know, you can't always, like, consistency is good and all, but there's almost, I don't think there's a single team so far in all tournaments combined in Apex history where you're just that hot throughout the entire tournament. Of course. But if, you know, if an 11 spot and one cold turkey is more than fine, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, we've got time. We've got plenty more games, that's for sure. Do want to highlight, of course, our top 2 squads, Fnatic, who are, of course, the big winners of last game, and Complexity, who I'd like to praise for the way that they played last game as well. Very different games from these two teams, but Complexity, with their more passive play towards the pylon area, picked their moments really well, and that included up until the end game. They had a very good shot at winning. And, well, it ultimately comes down to a little bit of mechanics, a little bit of timing, a little bit of who's got priority on the zone. I think Complexity gave themselves the best chance to win that they could have.
Yeah, they did, because they ended up getting, like, they were the team that got pushed. If Fnatic got pushed, then Complexity would be the third one. But they ended up being pushed. They did get up the wipe at least, getting second. It's you know, it's nice. However, you know, overall points here, we can't, you know, stop reminding. I never will stop reminding everybody is that look at the amount of points they have. When you get 20, and that's 5 average essentially in 4 games, is that you now have room to not have hot game, you have room to have cold games like Alliance maybe just had. They had such a huge start. This one doesn't matter for them. Even though they're pretty much already guaranteed in the winner bracket, let's be completely honest, this series alone, for most teams, you're looking to aim for that 30 marker because, like we said before, the average after the whole series is around 90 plus minus 5. Could be a little bit off, but yeah.
Very, very good series so far from both Fnatic and Alliance, top performers both. So I'm very happy with how they've managed to play these games so far. Very funny to see these two teams going away back to back, and maybe we'll get a tiebreaker in game number 3. ALGS, and today our players are honestly going to be competing in some of the most comfort possible, Graceful. It's been a fantastic day for them, and I'm very glad that we've got everyone comfortable in Herman Miller's. In the meanwhile, we've got some fantastic chairs to check out backstage as well, or backstage in the area, not our backstage, the backstage that's behind the stage, but it's not backstage. I don't know what to call that.
It's for the fans, fan stage.
The fan stage? It is backstage. Yeah. I know that if you're not here, it's actually on the right side, but it's behind everything because the whole arena is, well, it's quite. I need to come up with a better way.
They all get to test it.
But we've got a pretty chair back there, so that was where I was going with that. Let's go ahead and talk a little bit more about the game, because that is where I'm most comfortable, Graceful. We've got our third game coming up, and as we alluded to before the break, we are very close to determining the winner, hopefully, of this tie-break game that I'm hoping for between Fnatic and Alliance. But even if we don't get that, even if we have somebody else coming out on top entirely, even if Fnatic and Alliance go down in 19th and 20th, which would never happen in a million years, maybe, possibly, it could happen this game, we are going to get the next step, of course, in this B and D matchup, which is the second set of 3 that both of these groups will play before moving on to the next stage. So they're finishing the majority of their group stage, both of them today, whether they like it or not.
Yeah, and I mean, it's been looking good for some teams with, you know, with the momentum of the game from the first set going into the second, while it's been looking cold for other teams going from the first game into the second. they can always pick it back up, because even if you ended up not having a good group stage, you still have, you know, a solid chance to still make it through. And we've seen the underdog run by many teams, actually. One, you know, famously known, or, you know, even NA as well coming out. There's so many teams that start cold, get harder as the tournament moves on. So hang in there and you can make it through.
At this point, it is going to be largely about tenacity. Let's talk about what we can expect from the next map, because we are changing maps, Graceful. We started off on Storm Point, and now we're moving on over to World's Edge. Those will be our next 2 games. So this, as we always say, should be a really familiar map for our pros. It is the most familiar map in all of Apex Legends competitive. What I'm curious about is what it'll look like realistically between these 2 groups, because we've still had a lot of Edge teams dominating. World's Edge does typically reward squads that are able to play zone a little bit better, but I'm not seeing that play out in the same way as it usually does today.
No, we definitely haven't seen too much. Like, if anything, I would almost say that every team that ends up playing early rotate has been punished a lot of the time. But with this POI drafting as well, you can see that teams that have opted for Edge have had more success as of lately. And I don't know if it's the pacing and people are still feeling things out, because as you know, they might have been scrimming as well, but scrim timing is vastly different. Because scrimming, people are, you know, fighting a lot more often, rotating weirdly. And now when there's 8 teams in the same scenario, and then they all, like, this is the craziest part. If you're an early rotating team and I'm already in the spot that you thought it was, you assume that I know where the zone is.
Yes.
Sometimes it has happened to me on LAN as well, where I'm like, oh, there's 4 teams here. They definitely know where the zone is, so we're gonna go here as well.
Yeah.
Nobody had zone knowledge, and we're all in the wrong spot. And that happened exactly to Pylon as well. What happened? 8 teams were hard struggling getting up that hill, and we saw at least 16 fall on the north side of that hill going towards the southern side.
Yeah.
And honestly, playing early right now, unless you know where the zone is, kind of risky.
Yeah, I remember you used to see this a lot more when scanning our survey beacons was more common, when everybody ran recon all the time.
Yeah.
But when looking through player density on the map was a big indicator, the biggest indicator of where the zone is going.
Yeah.
You'd see a lot of teams that would get a couple of squads rotating by them, and suddenly everybody would sort of fake themselves out that the zone was actually pulling there, even though nobody knew, because they were all just like, oh, there are a lot of people here, so maybe the zone is ending here, when the zone was really ending basically nowhere near there. There was no scan, there was no data, it was all just people, and they all had to adapt very quickly. So it is funny how teams can make different reads off of each other. In contrast, this meta has given us a lot fewer recon characters. We got mostly controllers, mostly supports. In fact, I'm looking across what's been picked this particular game, and I'm seeing just Furia on the Valkyrie.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good pick. Sometimes if you are also struggling with certain parts of the game, you can make up for that by just swapping compositions potentially. And I like seeing, you know, a little bit of different stuff rather than just having the same 90% of the comps or even more. Like some of these picks might even be in the 100%, you know. Maybe Gibby, maybe Newcastle are the 2 ones we've seen the absolute most. We're also seeing more teams opt into Catalyst. Is this a map-dependent pick because World's Edge is a little bit harder to cross certain areas? Could be. I would like to see, though, you know, a little bit more of refreshing picks, such as Caustic from VP. I like that a lot.
Yeah, well, you know what? Caustic from VP. There we go, bottom left. So everyone, all those Caustic enjoyers are going to hopefully get their giggles out in this game. We do have, you know, I'd say a more challenging map for Caustic, which I didn't think I'd be saying about World's Edge, but just when compared with E-District, Caustic does not get as much value on World's Edge, although it may be easier to uproot people from buildings. Yeah. I really like the look of Caustic on E-District, so much so that it's replaced World's Edge as the sort of top map for Caustic for me.
Yeah, definitely. You know, with all the smaller tunnels in E-District tunnels, it's definitely a favorable pick. But when you're walking through choke and stuff, it doesn't really matter. You have your abilities, you have your bubbles, you have your Newcastle Qs. These fights happen a lot earlier on, though, in this map, because now's the time to fight if you want to fight. Otherwise, it's too late because everybody else is rotating.
We hadn't spent that much time on Supernova earlier, but now that we have, I do want to point it out. Walking L, hilarious name. absolutely fantastic name, and I'm overjoyed that we get to cast him. Thank you very much. Stallions are going to be setting up inside of the zone. Now, we may not see it on the mini-map, but we've got it confirmed, as over here is going to be where the majority of teams should start congregating. We're unlikely to see a sniper tower finish, but Countdown at least is going to get very crowded very quickly, as Dragons, Stallions, now DreamFire are already here. Dragons being set up all the way towards the north side, actually have a really nice position, and even better if you have Caustic, but you know, not everybody can be Virtus.pro.
Definitely more, definitely true. I like seeing evac plays early on because now you're occupying the areas, and this is even more scary because I remember doing this back without Newcastle and also Gibby combination. It was horrifying playing in this tunnel. Now it's kind of comfy, you know?
Yeah. Well, you know, now you can be bubble fought anywhere, so whether it's in a tunnel or not, things can get uncomfortably close. So we'll say it feels at least about the same being anywhere else. Stallions are going to start farming up their Evo. They haven't got that much going already, but it is one of the more comfortable metas, as we said earlier, to be low on Evo. We've seen a few teams get perhaps a little too comfortable with it, but E36 are not going to be one of those. Sitting on blues already, they're negative rotating out towards Climatizer, which is a fascinating move from E36. Their edge play today has not yielded as many results as some others, but I think it's a difficult lobby to really make those comparisons to about yourself in.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's honestly a solid choice because on this map, I think we see about 3 to 4 edge teams only comparatively to 8, you know, the past couple of matches, is that you have more leeway to just go farm objectives, and if you can do that alone, you're the one coming in with red armor, you know, as opposed to being double white blue in the center zone. Coming in with triple red in a bubble fight is really good.
Reminds me of GoNext last game. They were rocking up at a solo from Virtus.pro on like purples already. It was nuts. And actually, speaking of GoNext, they're going to inherit a kill. So a very nice pickup on Casa. And it'll be a singular KP for them so far, but who's to say where that'll go for GoNext, as they've got plenty of time out here in Monument, and again are opting maybe not into a hard edge play style as much as we just saw Enter Force 36 going for, but certainly a slower rotation where I'd like to see them play for a few more objectives and hopefully some straggling kills.
Yeah, I mean, getting these pickoffs is fine. They just want to clear out a certain side of the map, looking to see if they can, you know, harvest more kills and points as well. I think that later on, they'll probably play a little bit more objective now and then move into the choke, but they're always on the prey for like people fighting on the edge because once again, it's all about speed. Like you don't want to be too early, you don't want to be too late. You want to be just perfect to where if fight happens on either side of the map, you want to be able to 3P that because the more, you know, more teams on the same side, you'll be able to collapse.
What is this count as? Too early, too late, just right.
Yeah.
Force 36 meeting Fnatic. I'm going to say just right about now. This is a very serendipitous meeting of the two squads, both encountering each other over Evo, but I'd like to see the fight continue, especially as Fnatic now know that Enter Force 36 not only have blue shields, but are down a member and are going to take a little bit of time in recovering. Fnatic are fully on the push, and Meltstera doesn't quite connect the wall jump, but the rest of the team is going to be following that up, and still, the grenade from Leica is going to finish this thirst, so E36 are not recovering.
Yeah, and this is the thing, is that they are now running away with stragglers, and they're also getting held out by another team up on the north side, most likely, because everybody's hearing these shots. Everybody's seeing this ultimate as well. Now, the further you take, and if you're on the northern side too late, people kind of hear you, you know, across the map. It's not good.
I can't believe that. I can't believe that it's still connecting. I mean, it may only be 75 damage total, but
yeah,
UKF is landing shots from a ways away. Fnatic are going to continue their rotate as it was planned earlier, stopping by for a bit of Evo, now getting a kill on top of it, so maybe a little more Evo, and continuing on. Now, Enter Force 36 do get a respawn over in Epicenter, and Fnatic could choose to continue this whole escapade by jumping right on top of them, and it looks like that's exactly what they're doing. That's exactly what they're doing.
Yeah, but now it becomes scary because they're getting closer and closer towards the zone as well, where more teams are arriving and are already lurking. Will this be a repeat of what happened before when they overchased? I don't know.
Virtus.pro picked up a few kills. Crazy Raccoon following in the same way. I don't see them actually being able to stick to the fight, however, as they did take a little bit too long getting out of the door. Sangjun gonna jump right on over the wall, and Sangjun is thirsty for blood. I've never seen a Gibby move this fast, but now you know that you've got your prey right where you want them, and Sangjun going to be looking with the rest of the squad, Obli and Jusna, for these last 2 kills. PK shot not going to connect through the cat wall, but it's going to do plenty after that as Izidan will fall with extraordinary speed, netting Crazy Raccoon yet another kill, but importantly not a squad wipe, as GoNext still have a survivor.
Crazy Raccoon staying hungry, and they're not scared to take fights, even though they might not have had armor advantage. You know, they're still not scared. You don't have to be scared because you're blue into purple every single time if you get an opener, and they manage to get one.
GoNext is going to be retreating down towards Harvester. Crafter there, so pretty quick recovery should be available for GoNext. The concern would be Furia, who are also negative rotating down towards the south. Enter Force 36 are making their way into Fragment, and Fnatic, who have continued just completely unbothered, are moving through the north. This will be an interesting point for Fnatic. Do they choose to go through Skyhook, continue playing this really hard edge, or do they make the commitment to start fighting through teams that are already in zone? Do they feel that they're well looted enough to start playing this game?
Yeah, I mean, there's many options for them to decide on. I believe that they feel comfortable enough to take on any fight. If I were them, I'd most likely, you know, go on the northern side, because east side is almost always congested from this zone. But if you're ahead early on and you get gatekeep, they could even just rotate a little bit later, because right now they're just scouting. At this point, you're in the scouting phase, because every other team is already set up, really.
And I do wonder what this setup will net for a lot of squads. GoNext do hit the respawn as a quick note, but when you are already in zone, when you've been there for a while, soon we're going to start to see teams that need to move. Perhaps, unfortunately, for a lot of them who did not predict to have to. VK Gaming making quick moves, but instead vertical ones as they try to pick a fight up against Furia. They haven't quite found purchase yet. Finally, Keon's going to go down as he got a little bit too aggressive on Jakasa, and it's a completely split Furia that lets VK Gaming get even more aggressive, taking out Madness and setting Furia back 2 members.
Just so you know, second zone closing, 30 seconds left, and that's pretty much, you know, around the first. It's 19 squads alive. Right now, the action is about to unfold as more teams are, you know, closing in towards the center of the zone. But Furia getting out 1 guy alive. This zone, they can still out-heal. Are they going to reset in the exact same spot as GoNext did?
I think they are. I think Harvester is the place to reset this game. And Furia path right on back there. I think my question will be whether Furia can then make it through GoNext, who are going to be rotating through the south as well. This will be interesting. Crazy Raccoon are actually ratting here. VK Gaming could just walk right up on this. Sangjun's playing patiently, and Sangjun will be the first to spot if anyone comes on over this hill, but they're waiting for it. I don't know if we'll get to see it.
Yeah, but, you know, lurking. They're lurking. Fnatic's lurking. Everybody's lurking. The only people that are actively looking for stuff are the people in the zone, but some people in the zone aren't in the next ring. And you know what I said about before? If you don't know exactly where the zone is ending and you've just been sitting in those buildings for 5 minutes, you're not stacked, and you're gonna get gate kept by people that just came a little bit later with purple-red armors. It's gonna be tough.
Oh, look at this. I thought Crazy Raccoon was gonna move off towards the north where Fnatic were and actually get ratted on in a way themselves, but instead they're going to follow through this train tunnel in the steps of VK Gaming. Now, if you're VK, you are not expecting this. A negative rotate when you heard nothing, when you saw nobody through the spot you just came from is going to catch you completely off guard, and it should catch a team like GoNext off guard as well. Crazy Raccoon have no business coming through this tunnel, and they could be a serious X factor in Landslide.
Speaking of, you know, not being aware of something, Furia coming in probably about 59 minutes later from the zone as well, where Harvester with the reset could also surprise the many teams on the southern end of the map.
They're actually going to be walking up, I believe, right next to Alliance. So we can see the kill feed lighting up between those 2 squads very quickly. Both teams liking to get aggressive, and Alliance actually getting too aggressive for their own good. Hackis falls very quickly, and Furia, despite the late rotate, despite eating zone, give nothing up for free.
Yeah, but even though you go down, Here's the meta, baby. You get the reset. You're trading. You're actually trading in this bubble fight. And huge Qs come out. Keon looking to do something. Unlucky again. 2 for 0. He killed all 3 of them.
We're actually trading. Hold on. Unlucky. That's just upsetting. I would not. I mean, I'm happy for Unlucky, but I'm very sad for Furia.
Yeah.
Having picked one first and then having all 3 fall, that's devastating after they put in so much work to recover as well. But fortunately, they're not the only ones. They will have the company of Green STERGO, who have just fallen as well. So game 3 proving challenging for a lot of people in this set. One more time on World's Edge, though, might be the chance for both teams to bring this back. Meteor maybe requiring one of their own as they are starting to eat a few nades, a lot of damage, and Envy are giving no space where it is not needed. Bubbles on both sides, and Meteor are in big trouble if Envy choose to pursue this.
They decided, I'm not sure if they managed to scout one of Alliance members or not, or if they just said, hey guys, this fight is taking too long because they're still in the truck. They decided to disengage because they have a closer rotate straight towards the zone. Meteor, however, triple blue late rotate between Alliance and also Envy, potentially somebody else from Landslide. It is terrifying.
Yeah, I am very nervous about what's going to go on over at Landslide and even over here in Countdown, as we've got a lot of people giving up their spots. Dragons are going to be one of those squads who've got to move down to the south. Do they fight Stallions for the high ground? Do they try and fight Enter Force 36 for the low? Are they forced into fighting Supernova or Fnatic for this weird eastern rotate you can take? There's a lot of options that you have, and it's tough because at this point in the game, if you're a team that isn't positioned already in a good spot, none of them feel good.
Yeah, I mean, getting held out when you're forced to make crazy rotates is fine if it's maybe one team on the side, but being right now in between Alliance and Envy here, we see Envy rotate close side alongside his mountain. They're going to be in a solid spot because they have a Catalyst wall as well to help them.
Guild, unfortunately, will go down. Crazy Raccoon, that X factor in Landslide that we talked about, could start making waves right here and now. VK Gaming are going to be right ahead of them, and Sangjun is taking plenty of time with the cover provided by the Catalyst Wall to move on up and challenge GoNext, as Hiarka, Uchako, and Izadan do lose their shield. Arcstar not going to connect as the Newcastle wall does exactly what it's supposed to and keeps them safe. But Crazy Raccoon and GoNext are fighting, no doubt about it. Fnatic also fighting themselves up against Supernova, have locked them out of the zone temporarily. But Yuka in the bubble fight drops down to 25 HP, swings again, hits for 99, and almost does it as Supernova still claim the fight. Instant third party from Disguise is going to shut that down, and Alliance on the other end of this whole ring are fighting up against Liquid Alienware, and unfortunately, on the losing end of it, Crazy Raccoon's fight up against GoNext does not go their way, as GoNext are going to clean all of that up, and it is 3 fights across the ring that have all given us the 3 power points of the map. Disguised in the north, GoNext in the south, and in the eastern, or rather western side, Stallions still reign supreme.
It's hard to catch all the action because we've seen about 6 teams go down at the same time. Fight in the northeast, fight in the southwest, fight in the southern side. You know, we can't catch all the action, but we are seeing some rest action, however. Teams are finally starting slowly leading into getting their own corners in the next zone now that's still around a building where Stallions have been sitting the entire game. Can they close this game out, or can they even get some kills? When there's too much action, I'm not sure if they're willing to peek out too much.
Stallions have got to be the big team that I'm looking at, because they, as we pointed out, they are one of those 3 kings of the ring right now. Disguised took the north, GoNext took the south, and Stallions, of all squads, have got the biggest advantage and did without fighting anybody. They've been here for so long, they have high ground in Countdown. This is a very difficult spot to challenge.
It is difficult indeed. I actually believe I only saw 2 people there, but GoNext found the one missing person on Alliance running around, I believe. They're looking to chase him down, but because the zone has gotten so small now, they're actually getting punished by other teams for using utilities, so they can't overextend. And GoNext being really disciplined. Hey guys, let's just make sure we don't die here. Play it slow. We're putting out our wall. We're putting out our bubbles. Looking to reset. And now they probably have some time to read because they own the northeast side.
Very passive play, but very good play just got made by GoNext. The fact that they end up putting a Catalyst wall is an absolute, we don't want to fight you, we want no part of it. It does give Liquid Alienware a foothold, but that was a really smart play by GoNext. Now unfortunately, while it was happening, Stallions went down, so we've lost one of our major players, and that's going to be the high ground of Countdown. It's now entered the chat. It's available, you know, you can come hang out with the high ground in Countdown. The question is whether it's even desirable anymore, as Complexity are fighting for the low ground for this small choke point that has suddenly become the best place, the happening spot. With Sheila all revved up, these bubbles are going to expire, and you can't be standing in this hallway anymore.
Standing in this hallway is crazy because they actually got thirded by Ender Force from the God spot. Now they end up fighting. Complexity is down in below in the tunnel, feeling really good, and up top as well. Looking to close out kills, getting several knocks, but I don't believe any thirst so far. Now we see Monsoon here in this tunnel, feeling really confident, hitting some shots here, and they're just looking to control the space.
While we have all these fights happening over at Countdown, we cannot forget GoNext and Liquid Alienware. They are the two teams on the outside of Countdown that do not have to get involved in this. They have to third party at the right time, and they cannot forget about each other. If one forgets about the other for an instant, they could lose the game. They could be third party, they could be shot in the back, and there would be nothing they could do about it. So as Complexity absorb this fight and do it in stylish fashion, there's a lot of very nice movement in this bubble fight. Up against Disguise. Complexity will still win it. GoNext participate, and as GoNext send it, remember what they are giving up. Liquid Alienware fighting on the other side are going to be up against DreamFire, and just as quickly, DreamFire are going to evaporate. Liquid Alienware do go down, but DreamFire follow immediately, and it's GoNext that now get to come in, swoop in, clean up, and claim Game 3.
GoNext has shown both aggressiveness of sweeping that fight up north at the end, late part, into leading into another finish at the end to close out the game. They've been playing phenomenal the whole game actually, despite needing to run around and reset the event. Came back with that, ended up shooting many good fights, and then at the end, you were talking about Liquid as well as GoNext. They actually decided to split and take one side each. However, GoNext seems to have done it more clean.
Yeah, I'm looking at the timing, just from when we cut between those perspectives. Yeah, I'd say GoNext did it second. Looking at how committed Team Liquid was in their own fight versus GoNext on their third party, I think this was a matter of Team Liquid deciding they were going to commit to one thing, and GoNext going, all right, if they're doing that, we're going to do this, and then we will meet again later, which I think was a very smart decision, very heads-up decision, and a nice read from a team with a lot of LAN experience. GoNext, you know them.
I do know them. I actually played accidental rank with one of them recently as well. We bumped into each other, had a good time. Yeah, but as you said, you know, they decided, hey, they thought we have time and room to fight. They closed out their fight faster, came up ahead, and then closed out the game. Even if it came down to a 3v3, I'm pretty sure they still would have taken the game.
You mean if it had come down to like straight 3v3?
Yeah, I think they would have still taken the game. They were hot, and they were also hunting everyone.
They were feeling confident. It is very much a game about momentum, as much as mathematically it doesn't seem so.
Yeah.
It really does come down to it quite often in Apex Legends. 23-point finish for GoNext, which is a very nice spot to be ending their third game with. Enterforce 36 are going to be coming up behind them with 14 points, then DreamFire and Liquid Alienware, I think surprising me with a pretty low point count for all that they were able to accrue in this match. They're not demonstrating that same aggression in this match as much as they were playing like it. They weren't getting kills like it.
Yeah, sometimes even though you're in the right spots all the time, sometimes you just can't close out the kills. And that's probably what happened to them. On the opposite side of things here, seeing our top three, we actually saw a few teams that were placing high but not enough, you know, kills. And I think that's because you're in that area where there's too many teams alive. You want it to be kind of in between so you have some leeway to, you know, opt for thirsting people getting some more pokes in. But when there's that many teams collapsing on you, you just a little, like, I think it's also jitters. People are a little bit scared of making up.
In that specific zone as well.
Yeah, it's scary.
It's difficult to pick up points. There's a lot of limiters, but going into the halftime, this is where we're at. GoNext currently lead this group matchup with 43 points. So it's been relatively quiet from them, relatively consistent for them on top of all of that. A huge amount of placement points for them. Alliance and Fnatic following that up, though, are going to be, I think, the storyline right behind GoNext. It would be fantastic to see GoNext continue to rocket ahead. Alliance and Fnatic, they are the big scary titans that came out this morning and were terrifying, and now are looking to cement their spot in the next stage of the competition. It's been wonderful watching all of these 3 games so far, and I gotta say, Graceful, I'm very excited that we've got 3 more. But before we jump to those 3, I'd love to hear from our analyst desk.
Thank you so much, Dia and Graceful. We were having a great time hearing you guys as well as we welcome you back to the desk. Rain Day here again with Jayhawk, Zephyr, and Lace to break down the action after 3 in our final series of the day. We talked about EMEA showing up in Series 2, guys, and obviously Alliance kind of started out very strong here yet again, but it's another EMEA team in GoNext who just finished extremely strong as well. This is kind of waking up sleeping giants potentially. These are the teams that you don't go into LAN, into champs thinking will kind of control the narrative, but are so good that now if they become a problem, it shifts everyone's perspective on where they really need to focus on dealing with. And I think GoNext is a perfect example of a team, a little bit of an underdog, but has MVP caliber play, especially from Zidane.
Yeah, and I think that EMEA as a region has really embraced that almost the entire year. If we think back to LA, that happened too in the group stages. EMEA came out firing. Then we see Alliance lift a trophy.
Right.
Then we go into Germany and Gaming Gladiators takes over. It's been a variety of EMEA teams, and so the region continues to look stronger and stronger. Aurora's been fantastic.
Right.
Can GoNext throw their hat into that ring with this kind of a performance?
And it's a beautiful thing as we've seen these regions kind of get over their own personal narratives. APAC North, EMEA, we're waiting to see what will ultimately happen. Of course, North America been dominating for so long. But let's go back to the beginning of these first games and walk you through how it did continue to create the EMEA showing up conversation. And Zeph, that all started with Alliance.
Once again, representing after some phenomenal play all day long, had a great rotation out from the north. No surprises there when it comes to Storm Point as a whole here, but for Alliance, their pace of control from down below this POI to back up to some of these incredible resets here in this final circle where they take advantage of a lot of the focus of these other teams being more on each other than, of course, where we directly see them here. So a lot of excellent pacing that allows them to at least go for some of these full wipes, and then even when they're down and out, a complete full member, they get those major callus walls out in impact, you get for a full reset, and at that point, it's just quick cleanup.
Yeah, playing behind this mobile shield, so solid in terms of, kind of understanding how that is. You think of a traditional fragger like Unlucky picking up Newcastle, feeling seamless. And you've seen Fnatic, it's felt like a meta they would do well in, and they're proving that again with another win.
Yeah, their bubble fights have been impeccable throughout this entire LAN. They've done a really good job of being the team that gets the bubble down last. I think their macro has been absolutely on point. This is a southern zone. 3 of the other top 5 teams are coming from that south side. Fnatic's coming from Lightning Rod. That's a POI that's so far away that we're not going to typically see that team win. But then as you see here, once again, the bubble comes down late. The wall comes down late. These are things that you have to be last with if you want to try and win that fight, because then you control the pace of play, and then once they do, they get the win.
So patient, and that looked like it would be the conversation. Alliance and Fnatic, who else? Well, Lace, GoNext answered that. They were inserting themselves in the conversation.
Yeah, we've been talking about Alliance, but you know what? We want to hear something go next. And starting on this, the outskirts of staging here. And as Wig likes to say, the double bubble trouble, I'm going to add a McDouble into that one. But they absolutely kept the pace with this team. And to have, juggernauts, as we said, like DreamFire on their tails, and to be able to capitalize on this and absolutely show why EMEA, is in the running. Are they going to be a little bit of an underdog, kind of like Aurora, going to take in their shoes? But exceptional job from them, and you can just see like the patience that they showed in this final zone. It was just calculated for them. to be able to solidify this win as quick as they did.
Big stuff from Hayarka, Shako, and of course Zidane, who over our Pro League and online splits has had many moments of receiving those accolades of best team, MVP, and now doing it on the main stage. This is that transition period for players as they go in with 43 points into the final 3, where they get to see if they can cement this into a team that we start talking about tomorrow, or if this is just a flash in the pan, Jayhawk, because this is often the deciding moment. Do Alliance, Fnatic, Crazy Raccoon start to kind of take over Virtus.pro? They've been doing solid. Do they bounce back and GoNext fall a little bit? This is a huge opportunity for them to kind of seize this momentum and ride it out to the end.
Yeah, I mean, you just mentioned Crazy Raccoon right there. I do want to point out one thing. They had 24 total points, and 21 of them are kills. That was similar in the first set where they were so KP heavy. That's not typical for this team. Once again, we talked about evolution earlier.
Right.
When they won in Los Angeles, they were a team that was getting to zone early, getting a strong position with Watson and holding it. Right now, they're slaying the lobby, and so I'm wondering, when the bracket stage rolls around, if they bring back some of that placement-oriented stuff with the killing power they now have, they could be scary.
Yeah, and maybe it's just they're trying to force their game, too. It doesn't feel like maybe the spots are getting in, maybe the placements aren't well with how their draft picks went on. You'll be able to see that draft live tomorrow as we get set with our elimination brackets. But also, you'll be able to see something special this weekend that we've done before. Obviously, we love playing, but we love playing positively as well. And there will be an award this weekend for the positive player. Let's go ahead and check out what I'm talking about.
Not a good play, not a good play, help me!
Coming in from empty.
You're on my team. Strong!
Having a chat with me today. Thank you.
So who will it be, Hockeys or MT, to join the ranks of players who have received the Positive Player Award? And, of course, Big Verholz won that one prior. So it's going to be a fun time this weekend. We'll see who ends up winning. But you know what, Lace? There's also some fun things happening right now. You had a chance to check out the Fun Zone going on in Daiwa House. Let's see it.
There are many things to do in the Sapporo Dome for the ALGS, and one of them is at the Sony InZone booth, where you can actually 1v1, say, another fan, a content creator, or even a pro. And if you do happen to win, you'll get yourself an InZone earbud, so make sure you take the chance to do so. There is also going to be a little bit more than just the 1v1s. You'll be able to listen to some Q&As, and you never know who's going to show up for those. They could potentially be anyone, so make sure you check out the schedule here in the Fan Zone.
The Fan Zone. Okay, I said the Fun Zone, but it just felt like
Same.
you're having a lot of fun.
Identical
kind of conversation there. It is crazy. You know, this day we're kind of settling in. It's packed. There's more people here than some of our bigger days at other events, but there's a lot to do over there. Herman Miller chairs, the incredible InZone 1v1 stations where Vicky did not beat me, okay, by the way. That didn't happen. No matter what you saw at the beginning of the series.
Just a warm-up.
It was just a warm-up. It's cold.
Okay.
Yeah.
I said it might get more than just a few games. Guys, it's been fun. We've got 3 more to go to close out the series. We'll have a great idea for those watching at home who came to play here in Sapporo. But for right now, we got 3 more games for players to answer that question. We got 2 guys who are ready to go. I know they're excited for this one. Mark, Dan, take it away.
What did we do? What have we done? Why is that so funny? Why is that so funny? We will never know. But we will take it away. We'll give you a chance to catch your breath. We are in what can only be described as a celebratory mood right now. We're getting towards the end of the day, and obviously we've got some more games to get through before we do get there, Dan. But like Rainday just summed it up. I don't know why the vibe's like that, but it kind of is, right?
I like it.
We're just happy to be here.
Maybe
People laugh.
You know, first day vibes. It's fun. We're excited, and you know, Game 4 is coming very soon. We've got World's Edge again before we go into E-District, and we just saw GoNext take the victory, and not only take the victory, but also topping the leaderboard as it stands. And they have created a little bit of a gap away from Alliance, and that's impressive because Alliance have looked insane so far today. And if they can find any sort of form from earlier games, then maybe they can just top this group once more.
I mean, the day so far, you have to say, has belonged to EMEA, right? And APAC North.
Yep.
North America been a little bit quiet. APAC South been a little bit quiet by their own standards. And for the EMEA boys, I just wonder if this is a case of the last few weeks of practice being kind of the practice with the, you know, the training weights on, so to speak, with the ping difference that they've had to go through, with all of that stuff we talked about a little bit earlier. Now that we get to land, now that there's not that ping difference, all of a sudden they get the boost, they get the buff, and they're looking like some of the strongest out there.
Oh, suddenly my shots are actually connecting. Suddenly we can actually take these fights, and maybe that aggression they weren't able to play with, now they can finally actually play to their full performance. Very excited for this one. World's Edge, we haven't actually seen World's Edge, you and I, so far today. We've already done E-District and Storm Point, so back to the basics for World's Edge.
The World's Edge is our first little look at it today. Very excited, of course, always to cast on World's Edge. Will always and forever be my favorite map in Apex Legends. I don't care how many games I've played on it. There's always something new to find out and a new angle to be held. And for some of these teams, we have to wonder if there's going to be some new scores to be settled as well. GoNext currently sitting in a wonderful position in our leaderboards in our matches between Group B and D. Elsewhere, kind of looking across some of the other teams that we have in our lobby that have been a little bit quiet so far. It's surprising not to see Envy maybe having the impact in this lobby that I would expect.
Yeah, I think that, I mean, with how good Envy were in scrims and previous tournaments, BLGS, etc., we were maybe expecting a big boom from them when it comes to this tournament, but I don't think it's a problem if you're not peaking day one. I think it's a problem if you haven't peaked by day two.
If you just don't peak.
If you don't peak at all, that's definitely a problem.
That is tier one.
If you're dropping into the elimination bracket, that's when the situation gets a little bit dicey. The World's Edge is upon us. Ignore the fact that Enter Force 36 may have been eliminated. That hasn't happened. I can see them. They're alive and well and raring to go, as we are.
I will say that Gibby left the dropship in a very amusing way to me. Did you see that?
I didn't.
Everyone else kind of did the normal, but the Gibby just went feet first. I did. Pencil dive. Yeah.
Well, if anyone can do it, Gibraltar can. All right, well, we are into it. And of course, GoNext, our previous winners, they get the loot cam. I'm trying to check to see who has priority to zone. Zone? Still a difficult one to call right now before we get any zone information. But Furia down towards Mirage Etoile, they're going to have a ring console to work with. Stallions also at Lava Fisher can have a ring console as well. So both teams on that far west side are going to be able to move and traverse very quickly, which is going to be good for them because it is going to be a zone that is somewhat close. We're going to be heading down towards Staging and Harvester, all between the two.
Yeah, interesting to see what this... I mean, my initial reaction to that is potentially like a Hill House finish on the respawn building that we see sometimes. Maybe it is going to pull in towards Harvester a little bit more, but I would say, judging from that first circle, it's somewhat of a surprise to see the circle where it is, so to speak. So that beacon information as we move through the game is going to be more and more important for these teams as we jump on board with DreamFire. 7th place overall at the moment, 21 points for them. Certainly not rewriting the history books as far as points on the board is concerned, but a solid enough start for them.
Yeah, they're just hugging this eastern side of the circle right now. Fnatic above them, disguised below them, but they will want to move a little bit further west over towards the likes of Harvester. I'll be interested where Furia actually go as well, by the way, because we did see them hit that ring console at Mirage Etoile, move very quickly down the stage.
Yeah, interesting to see if DreamFire and Fnatic are having a little bit of a kind of a squabble over the respawn village that we're seeing here, who's going to get that off of the drop, because you saw that Yuka was kind of overextending. He's had to now get back to his team who are over at Overlook, and DreamFire, who dropped in and around, you know, the mid-map, in and around Fragment. Maybe they were trying to overextend and take that themselves. So maybe that's just a little bit of posturing between the two teams here on World's Edge to decide who is going to own that loot. But elsewhere, two teams who do have a little bit of loot. are going to be fighting inside of the Vault Tunnel here. It's going to be Dragons on one side and Supernova on the other.
There's a third team as well in the mix, maybe just above them that could very much join. No, they are going to be on the other side of this, so this is going to be a sad situation for the first entries, but a great situation for Dragons to arrive as the third party.
Green STERGO gone. No Champagne Supernova this time around. They will be out first in the lobby as well. So our first two teams have been eliminated, and that is about as simple a job as you could ask for when a fight is appearing in front of you and nobody else is in the vicinity. This one looks a little bit more awkward though. VP are going to be outside of Climatizer at the moment. They've got Force 36, who we saw take a game a little bit earlier today on their tails.
VP have a lot of rocks to work with. Oh, that's the perfect shot coming out of Lou. Slayer follows up with one of his own, and that might just be the end of E36.
That is what you call a change of plans, an enforced change of plans. The Newcastle had all sorts of ideas. I'll get the wall down, I'll take that high ground off of them, but the well-timed shot coming in from Slayer just got that knock onto Newcastle. Now VP Lou on our screens right now, trying to chase down the final player to make sure that Force 36 do not get to re-enter the game. What he's going to do is hit one or two more shots. Unfortunately, had to reload. Doesn't have the light mag. Difference maker.
Never seen Gibby move so fast.
Oh man, Gibby shuffles.
He's got the moves. Oh, Zach is full sending. No, it doesn't even need a gun at this point. Wow, even the ultimate's coming out here. Everything is being thrown. But sadly, Enter Force 36 do find their demise. 17 squads remain, so 3 early exits here on World's Edge. One of the criticisms of the map in scrims has been that people haven't been playing it properly, that they've been getting too aggressive in some of the fights, not playing for the late game. Well, it seems to be happening here on LAN as well. Some forced early engagements. We might have another one here on our hands as Dragons looking to try and take a fight over at Harvester. A very congested Harvester, may I add, is Alliance. Oh, Hackis, you've been chased by Furia.
Yeah, the other two members of Alliance are in Skyhook at the moment, so they'll be able to get the res pretty comfortably. Nobody else is really close enough for Furia to worry about. They will pick up the 1 KP, however, and add to their total. And they've, a little bit of a slow start here, but they've been chugging along today, Furia. It hasn't been the pop-off games. It hasn't been the monsters that we all remember, but game after game, they still get those points on the board as Hackis now will return. And I wonder if Hackis was just overextending there to see if he could get the Evo Harvester by Lava Fission before returning to his teammates. No harm, no foul. Maybe lost a couple of attachments, but Alliance will still be playing from the Charles side of Skyhook and still will be able to quite comfortably loot up and continue on their way.
I think with Furia, they've been, experimenting with Valkyrie as well. We saw some really good games from them earlier today. I think it has paid off for them. They've been consistent across the board. They haven't been amazing, like you said, but have been dropping points where they need to, as X and Y need to try and get back up to a full 3 here. I think they should be able to do so. They have so much distance between themselves and the team that's being aggressing on them.
One thing to highlight here, just looking at the kill feed, as we're seeing a couple of shots and knocks coming in from different teams. It's the first time in a long time that I've seen the kill feed, longbow, triple take, followed up by a charge rifle. 3 snipers in action, all of them doing the damage.
Most of them to be dropped by a Nemesis as soon as they find it.
Oh, of course, or a scout, yeah.
And a lot of Peacekeeper. We've seen so much Peacekeeper action so far this tournament. Mastiff was probably the preferred shotgun during scrims, I would say, but Peacekeeper seems to be creeping up a little bit, and I wonder whether that's just something to do with LAN registration.
Yeah, it's maybe, like you say, a few more pellets are hitting.
Yep, more confident in the spread.
Yep. I always find, personally, that Eva is one of those guns as well, which is either the greatest gun in the world or I'd never want to pick it up again. But that's on me, I will say.
I feel like the Eva has a mind of its own sometimes.
Yep. TSG are going to lose one. Strafing Flame has been knocked. I have to wonder if there's going to be anyone close enough to see that being picked up. VP, who we saw a little bit earlier, taking down E36. They've got Meteor, who are wrapping them in zone at the moment, but Furia are also overlooking this fight, and VP have to be so careful. I'm not sure they actually know. Things are going down, so I think Lou actually spotted them out, which is why Slayer and Lou are now trying to retreat to Zach Mazer. That's where you've got to be on in these games, right? You've got to be aware all the time of not just your own position, but your surroundings as well, because you can quite comfortably get called out.
VP, of course, the only team rocking Caustic. Lace was able to have a chat with Zach Mazer earlier and have a chat about it. Why are they playing the Caustic? How is it working out? Is it successful? And
I mean, we were doing some limit testing in the firing range as well with a few theories we'd crafted. Inconclusive were the results, I would say.
Yeah, we were trying to work out, does a Newcastle wall actually destroy barrels, or does it engage the barrels and make them produce the gas? And the answer was it can do both. Depends where the wall is placing. If the wall is placed directly on top of a barrel, it will destroy it. However, if it's just a few inches off, it sets it off. So those caustic barrels placed correctly or a wall placed badly can really change a game.
Fnatic at the moment. Bubble going to come in to support his two teammates here from Yuka. Leica will be able to get to the bottom of Epicenter, but VP are still extremely close to this fight. Meteor with the team who are firing down on them, but you can see what the struggle is at the moment for Fnatic. They're kind of just pinched, and the worst thing about it is they're pinched and having to play in zone, and with 40 seconds or so until Zone 2 closes, Zone 2 hurts, but Zone 3 is where it really starts to influence your ability to get back into that zone if you're being peppered from a distance. The chip away at that health is going to be significant in comparison to Zone 2.
Also very sensible here from Virtus.pro, right? They are not going to continue their fight against Fnatic because they also recognize that they have a long journey here across World's Edge before that zone starts to tickle them as well. But they are going to potentially run into DreamFire. You can see there in Monument. And then if they get further, there is the chance that Furia could be the next in front of them as well. So still a few teams that have to move quite some way, but that zone is going to continue to transition between staging and Harvester. So a team like Stallions, for example, could be in one of the prime positions that you were speaking of a little bit earlier. Liquid Alienware, haven't seen much from them in this series. 12 points at the moment. Maybe they can find that pop-off game that they would desire to try and get to the upper half of this leaderboard.
Just trying to look if there's going to be people playing for not just third zone information, but potentially fourth as well. Thermal Station might be accessible, although certainly you're going to have to make sure that you have the heals to get in and out of there. The support class, of course, is going to have a little bit of an advantage when it comes to getting those heals off a little bit quicker and a little bit more efficiently. But elsewhere, just trying to look across, Lava Siphon's not going to be an option. So a team like Alliance might be thinking about wrapping towards Thermal, playing for that next beacon, and then trying to force their way in a little bit later. In the meantime, we'll jump into a listen-in here with Virtus.pro as they're trying to hold people out outside of Fragment.
I think that is...
Two in zone, right? I have 8
two
ranges.
left, 2 left, 1 right. 2 left, 1 right.
We need to wait for this team behind us to go the other way.
Is there any way we can just go forward against them with Q and bubble into the tunnel?
Yeah, but I don't think it's good.
I'm gonna try to Vernate this kid, okay?
Yeah, I'm just looking at the team behind us, guys. I'm most worried about that. We have enough white meds to sit in zone for a little bit and then go tunnel. Where is the team behind us?
Full team on the bridge, guys. Full team on the bridge, running at them,
That's good, that's good.
We can make tunnel? No, we can make space on the right. Should we make space on the right?
No, let me tack, Now we go AFK and they're gonna focus on us. Can we walk up and look down on them? Can we don't? Yeah. Second dome and barrel! Second dome and barrel!
1 HP, give me right. Just chill. The other guys, play slow. The other team is going to fuck. Can I give you all?
Yes, you can, to keep them in there. Nobody's clearing the other side of our tunnel, bro. Sky West could be here hitting beacon.
They might run at me, guys. They're running
I'm not with you, I'm with you.
They're going across the bridge. They're going across the bridge.
Rampart team behind us on the other side of the tunnel, man. I can't do anything about that. What's going on over there, guys? I can't look at you. I have to hold this team.
One HQ Newcastle. Yeah,
one team.
They're running to gas. The left team ran to gas.
One team ran left.
Are we okay? Are we fine? We can hit beacon landslide.
I think we want to leave. This is like a fuckfest.
Gold bin on me. Hit the bin reset on you. Purple bags on me. Everyone get a purple bag. I already have a purple knock. Could be getting ratted here. I would love to hit Mythic.
I need cell, Zach. Drop him.
I have 1 cell.
I dropped you 4.
I have 1 cell.
Nobody's gotten Mythic, bro. I don't think anyone's going to get it.
We have 45 seconds, bro.
Now the comms back into the game. VP giving us a little bit of an insight into the communication going down between them. And you can hear it was a little bit hectic. And there was no surprise because all of a sudden Zone was closing. Furia were at their backs. Fnatic were involved just outside of the tunnel as well. And VP were worried about DreamFire, who they thought potentially could be holding them out on the other side of that tunnel. But instead, things seem to have worked out for them for now.
Well, Guild maybe now getting the end of all that commotion that was happening as well. Fnatic are arriving into zone. You can see Sheila was out just to stop them, but Fnatic have done enough just to force Guild back because they're on blues. Elsewhere, you heard in the comments as well, I would love to hit the Mythic bin. I've said that many a time in my ranked games, but Virtus.pro did force GoNext off of said Mythic bin and are grabbing it right now. So VP are going to have access to it, and there they are. Fantastic work from the observers as always. And your reward, 3 gold scouts. And a bow check.
Don't forget about the bow check. Certainly can do some damage in the right hands for sure. Guild now trying to work their way through Harvester towards this zone, and the teams who maybe thought this was pulling Harvester side or only had that option as somewhere to play, and now going to have to leave. On the other side of zone, we are jumping back on board here with Virtus.pro. Unfortunately, it looks like Zach was one of the unfortunate beneficiaries from that Mythic bin. He wasn't allowed to pick up one of those gold scouts, even though he's pretty much got every attachment anyway.
He's like, don't have time, busy shooting. I really enjoyed the comms as well, just listening to how they were trying to navigate that space of the tunnel, of two really just holding out the fight, but one making sure he was watching the other side. Couldn't allow a team just to walk up on them for free, otherwise they would have just been toast. But now they have worked their way into zone, have a Mythic bin, and control the northwest side here, and the zone looks pretty good for them. This isn't bad for Virtus.pro at all.
Yeah, I mean, all of the traffic, like I mentioned, is essentially on the Harvester side of the zone. So VP's position they find themselves in right here, it goes back to clearing a side of the zone now for them, right? If they can clear this western side of the zone, they will have a free walk in, but they've still got a member of GoNext behind them. A couple of members of actually GoNext are still alive, although they are pretty split from each other. But the big worry for them is Alliance. Alliance and Liquid Alienware, who are kind of working their way around that zone, could be a problem. GoNext have been eliminated, so that solo player is going to go down as Fnatic look for more bodies in front of them.
They are chunking, but the team will be running with the tail between their legs, and Fnatic have to go back to their hidey hole as well. It is not safe out there. So many teams in and around Harvester at the moment. If you expose yourself a little bit too much damage might arrive to you as well.
To paint the picture for you here, there's 35 seconds left on this zone before it closes. You've got Complexity, Fnatic, you've got Meteor still alive here in Harvester, Guild, Dragons, VK Gaming, and Disguise all still in the buildings that make up Harvester. All of those teams have to leave. The only team who are essentially safe at the moment are right at the bottom of the final part of Harvester that sticks out to the west. Those double doors are occupied by Disguise. If they can stay there and hold off some of this traffic, they'll be in a great spot, but everybody else has to leave.
Yeah, I think Disguise on the low ground, VK Gaming above them, those two should be safe, but the rest are just going to run into a wall and probably do damage on their way. This is where you've got to think about KP. Can you survive? If not, should we just try and find points where possible here? As Complexity, Bubble is down, they're having to back off as well because the Thermite is stinging.
Oh, they get wrapped themselves though! And even though Monsoon and Enemy are looking forward, unfortunately it's Kim Chi who finds out that there's other teams coming in from the other side. Enemy, I'll give him 5 HP because I'm feeling generous, it's late in the day. He's going to have a little bit of time here to pop the battery. Is he going to be able to rat out here for Complexity for some placement points though?
Still alive at the moment because everyone else is looking elsewhere as now Sheila starting to shred as Fnatic trying to pick up some KP.
Ouch.
1 goes in, 2 goes down, Dragons will be eliminated. 15 squads still alive, by the way, but Fnatic are trying to force their way into this zone.
Yeah, they have to, and unfortunately they're being met by Sheila themselves, and a little bit of their own medicine there for Fnatic. Having held one team out with Sheila in their hands, they get mowed down as they try and work their way towards zone. 14 squads now remain, and the fight that I was kind of alluding to might take place a little bit earlier now is in front of us. Alliance are taking on Team Liquid Alienware in this fight, in and around this bubble. A couple of knocks going down, it's all on you, Unlucky.
So many grenades went down. Maybe Unlucky can still win this one, but he's going to opt to try and get the res instead. Doesn't work out. Alliance eliminated. Job done from Liquid Alienware.
In the meantime, VP were eliminated while that fight was going down, as now the third party comes in. Here from Envy. Drops is going to get the first, and Liquid Alienware will not be able to reset off of the back of that fight that they just had to take against Alliance. And now Envy, we talk about controlling a side of the zone. We talk about wiping a side of the zone and calling it your own. Well, Envy have done exactly that.
So many fights breaking out at the moment. Again, DreamFire with Sheila trying to do as much damage. I hate the world does do the initial damage, has to back off, but now gets back up to a full red here as X and Y have lost 1, and maybe DreamFire on top.
It's trying to do what he can. He's going to have a little bit of time to pop the shield cell to at least get 50 HP back. Has to reload that Peacekeeper though, and now that he has, it's time to send it into the bubble. Oh. X and Y will be eliminated, and he should be able to get the res here, but they're being wrapped by MTR.
Third party central right now, just when you think you're safe. You work so hard to win a fight, but you are instantly punished, and it's so difficult to try and find any reward as
Newcastle was swinging, the Newcastle went down swinging though. No ammo left in the gun, but now there's another 3P, and this is the traffic, all of which has come from Harvester.
It's what happens when you have a circle like this with not much playable space. Nowhere is really safe right now, so if you see an opportunity to take said space, to get some KP, boy, do you have to take it.
Let's go here. On the Gibraltar, no bolt on that Peacekeeper means that he's not going to be too thrilled if a bubble fight breaks out. Skill try and dive down into the crevasse. They will do, but they've been spied out here. The Newcastle wall goes just in the nick of time to give them a bit of cover to play.
They're not quite in zone right though. They have to push. They have to probably take this bubble fight. It's going to be against Furia as well, but Meteor are then going to be on the other side of that, but they've already lost one. Carnage down here.
This guy's eliminated. Meteor will go. Guild, maybe with that fight breaking out in front of them, will be able to toe their way towards zone, and that's exactly what they have done. We now find ourselves into the top 6, and for just a second, there's a moment for us to catch our breath here. R99 in the hands of QQ. We'll have to see if the old SMG can reintroduce itself here in a very shotgun-heavy meta.
So many grenades available to people as well, but you just have to do your best to try and avoid them. Maybe use a rampart wall that's available, someone else's rampart wall, just to try and hide and build a base right now as Guild get 2 knocks onto Furia.
Legacy did such a good job in that bubble fight. First in, but baiting himself so well, didn't take damage and allowed Phony to move in to clean up some of those pieces of Furia. Furia still have 1 player alive. Stallions, who have been, by the way, in the respawn building for the majority of the game, have now been evicted, as Crazy Raccoon will be playing up and around the roof of their building. They're now forced back inside as Envy move up. We'll jump into a listening now with Envy.
There's a team here. Careful, careful.
Free kills on that. Listen to me. This is your fucking focus, okay?
Yeah.
Stop focusing on other shit. Keep them in the building.
I'm talking the other.
Keep them in the building.
Can you just destroy the door, okay?
Coming, that team out 4.
Newcastle
1. I knocked Rampart.
That team is aping them. That team's aping them.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm still holding the door, okay?
Yes, hold the fucking door.
Yeah.
It's a team inside. Shoot the Gibby.
They're still fighting.
That Gibby's 1.
They're aping each other.
Gibby's 1. I got him.
I threw a nade on them. I have shot.
Envy, the plan is very, very clear. Keep that team in the building. We can focus on the KP around. In the meantime, VK Gaming have been eliminated, and we find ourselves with just 4.
Stallions between Envy and Crazy Raccoon right now, but Guild, they're on the outskirts. Guild are avoiding all of this fighting that's happening on the southern side, and Guild, despite the fact they were in a really tough spot earlier, can now move all the way onto the north, control the northern side, and in a really good opportunity to maybe win this game. Yes, they're in the low ground right now, but they can just go unseen. They can wait, they can bide their time and wait for their moment.
Everyone in this building has to fight, and that's going to allow Guild to wrap up to the north, like you say, and potentially win this game. They've just got to pick their moment. They can't overextend. The last thing you want to do here if you're Guild is be the player to get knocked.
Really have to listen to each other and trust each other right now. Be patient, wait, take your time. But there could still be something done from one of these teams also, like Stallions, for example. They've not taken much damage yet.
Stallions, who have owned this building since the very start of this game, now have to win a big fight here to take the high ground away and focus their attention down to the low ground. But here comes Guild. 4 squads remaining, but so many players are weak. So many players have taken damage, and Stallions will fall.
Guild are so healthy though. They have the bubble, they have the shields to work with as well. And now you use your fists. Anything you can do to get the damage. Guild take the game, and it is perfectly executed. They did bide their time, and they are rewarded for it.
We were asking if other regions were going to step up. Well, it's a combination of talents from different regions who represent APAC South, who come out on top in our 4th game of this series. And there's a few moments you look back on there as the big moments for Guild to work their way towards the end zone. Some of the fights in and around that crevasse, the bubble fights down low, they managed to kind of avoid a lot of the carnage there and played their life, kept their shields pretty well. And then when they won that fight for the end game, or for the low ground, I should say, they were able to wrap those teams who were in and around that building. It's a fantastic performance from them, and you have to say, Phony, once again, is showing his value as an IGL.
Amazing decisions from him as well, because it was not only patience in the end game, but down in that section that you were talking about, when Meteor dropped behind Furia, I think there was an initial thought process of they had to take the fight in the bubble against Furia. That's what I was thinking. But then as soon as they saw Meteor dropping, they're saying, actually, let's just wait, allow those guys to have their little kerfuffle, and then we could push up, we could take more space. We have rampart walls to just keep people at bay, and they were able to then delete 1 or 2 as they arrived and slowly make their way to zone, and they went unseen, they went unheard until they needed to get involved, and boy did they get involved. 12 placement points, 10 kill points, 22 on the board for Guild as they surge their way up these leaderboards.
Solid performance as well from Envy. Some questions asked by me, I believe it was, at the start of
I do remember you asking some questions.
I'm happy to own up to that. Answered quite rightly with a 2nd place finish and some good points on the board. Phony not only leading his team with the calls, but also leading the lobby with some kills as well. 7 for him, leading the lobby Fantastic performance from him, and if there was ever, you feel like if there was ever anyone in the ALGS at the moment with a point to prove, probably Phony more than ever.
Yeah, you heard it in the interviews as well that he just wants to prove a point. He won playoffs and then is not on that team. Like, how does that feel? I cannot even imagine. He said even though he won, it didn't feel like he won because of that. And I think if anyone wants it more, I'd be surprised, because he is here with an absolute fire, an absolute determined mentality to win.
I do believe we call it a chip on the shoulder now.
We do, yeah.
It's chip on the shoulder, chip on the shoulder. Anyway, Phony showing that he can certainly still direct the troops exactly where they need to go in those end games. Some really, really good calls and execution from him once more. Some fantastic plays from them. You have to say the Guild have been really, really good in that game.
Yeah, and I think you can just see the difference of one solid game can really change how the series is going to look as well. I mean, the first three, not looking so great, not looking so hot, down in the bottom half of the leaderboard, and then one, bam, they are suddenly right up into 6th place, and now they're in contention to compete for that top 5.
So another region stepping up here in the lobbies. We've got so many things to obviously conclude as we get through these games, but we've got a couple more to go through before we find the answers to those questions. We'll be back in just a few moments with another game.
Monitor of the Apex Legends Global Series.
Maybe 30 or not. It ends below. So
Shooting out wall, shooting out wall.
I'm them.
They're gonna fight each other, chill.
Yep.
Let them fight each other.
They climb me up.
Picks maybe. There's a solo maybe down.
Solo
There's a solo on the bottom. Big.
Yep, time. Bubble on me.
Arc one. Arc one.
We have bubble behind me if you need.
Arc another.
Wait, behind me.
Dead.
Dead.
Clinging. Packed another.
Killed. Ramp up. Last one. Last guy.
You're good.
80. Dead.
What the fuck? What the fuck were we doing that game? I don't even know how the fuck we won. What the fuck was that game?
That's amazing listening, to be honest, to come back from the break. I mean, a great win for Guild in that previous game, but Phony almost just surprises anyone that they managed to pull off the win in that one.
Well, I think that for good reason. They were dead to rights with the position that they found themselves in, but I think he has to give himself some credit of how he navigated it. Yes, it didn't seem likely, but he still persevered. He still was able to get through a very difficult situation. But that means we're done with World's Edge. Map 4 is over, and that means we are heading over to E-District. This is where it starts to get exciting in this series, because we still know that E-District is still a little bit of the unknown. It's the first time, remember, we've ever seen this map on LAN. Yes, we saw it in the BLGS, but online we know very different to LAN.
Yeah, it certainly is. And we've seen some really hectic end games. I mean, we kind of expected to see that, right, with the ability to play so many spots here on numerous POIs for E-District. And I'm interested to see how this lobby plays as well, because something that stood out to me from that last game was there seems to be an element of aggression for some of those teams early on. They were a little bit willing to take fights in and around the edge. There were a couple of scuffles that happened over some beacons a little bit later on, and maybe it's not just the, I would say that end game didn't allow a lot of teams, obviously, playable spots. But with that kind of style, I'm interested to see if E-District dictates how they play with so many spots available for the end game, or if we're going to see something similar, where we're going to see some fights break out a little bit earlier. We were asked, you know, who do we want to talk about a little bit by our wonderful producer in our ears, and you were straight on the mic. You were like, I want to talk about Crazy Raccoon. My question to you, Dan, is why?
Why?
Yeah, why?
Well, the fact that they were picking E-District as one of their priorities, not just today, but I think it's going to be something we see forward for them. They really want to focus on E-District. They've gone for the Lotus as their pick. It was their 3rd pick. They were number 3 in that POI draft. And that means we need to see results. If they do not find these points, then there has to be the question of why are they picking so aggressively on E-District when there arguably are other maps that maybe you should be prioritizing. Is this a practice thing? Do they feel more confident? Are they playing, in their eyes, other POIs that are not going to be taken as priority by other teams? For example, Alliance do a similar thing. They leave Trident open because they don't feel like anyone is really going to take Trident because it's not as desirable on Storm Point. So we'll have to see whether that starts to play out successfully for Crazy Raccoon, who at the moment find themselves in 4th place in this series. So with arguably, in their eyes, the most desirable POI on this map for themselves, could they find themselves at number 1 after 6 matches?
I'm more than happy with your answer.
Thank you.
That's fantastic. Let's take a look at some of the POI drops that we are going to see here on E-District as well. So you at home, if you're watching for the first time or you just didn't catch it essentially in the build-up to the event, this is where the teams are going to be dropping. You can see right in the north side there at the Lotus, that is Crazy Raccoon. That's who Dan's talking about. Right in the middle of the map, you've got VK Gaming over at Energy Back, and down at the bottom there you can see E36 down at Shipyard Arcade, and everybody else in between.
You can really see the difference there just with the numbers and the picks that came in. I mean, 3rd for Lotus, but everyone else, we don't even see an E-District pick till 22nd from anyone in this group. So no one else really in this group was thinking about E-District as the first map on their mind. Is that going to kind of bite them in the backside a little bit? Or because this is a far more balanced map with the POI, there is a lot more loot available to people, maybe they don't mind so much.
Yeah, I think that would be my theory if I had the opportunity. I got to say, like, I would be prioritizing my picks on World's Edge and Storm Point because E-District just feels a little bit more balanced when it comes to those POIs and the loot that you can play with. It's much easier to play the game if you've got the meds and the weapons to do so. So everyone else, they haven't got to worry too much about any contests. Meteor, however, look like they might be taking a little bit of a fight earlier on here.
I would have thought it's an energy bank in the surrounding areas where there is always
danger
be damage and fights that are breaking out, but Meteor maybe getting a little bit too confident onto VK and they just have some warning shots and say, actually, no, leave us alone. We'd like to continue our looting path, please. It's so funny when you think about the history of Apex and people, you know, these teams, they love their easy start to the game where they get to loot up comfortably and they don't have to take fights. And when someone disrupts that, kind of pisses people off.
Yeah, understandably so. By the way, I've just decided to refer to Energy Bank as Kenny Long is Danger Zone from now on.
Danger Zone. I like that. Danger Zone.
I don't think we can sing anymore.
Yeah, any longer than
court,
that?
yeah. Yeah, City Hall is where we're going. So Complexity are going to be pretty happy. The only problem for them is they might not be too happy because they do not have a ring console to play with. So it could be one of those awkward games here. Unless they start to see traffic arriving pretty soon, the likes of Guild, for example, then maybe Complexity are going to be biting at a potential move towards the Lotus where Crazy Raccoon are going. And I think that also might be influenced by GoNext Esports, who are also making their way here.
I think what's good is Complexity have regrouped here very fast. I was starting to get flashbacks from Ninjas in Pajamas and how they would move in the southwest and they would be very much aggrieved when they were all split up and everyone arrived too quickly to their POI. Well, Complexity have moved away from their POI. We had a quick look at some of the meta stats so far. We have now got more than 5,500 walls being provided by Rampart, over 1,500 bubbles, and we're only in bloody day one, Mark.
Slightly warmer skyward dives than I thought we would see. I've got to be honest, coming into this land, I thought that was going to be 0 about a week ago, but hey, here we are.
It was only 1 or 2 teams in scrims, but I think as scrims went on and as the tournament came along, suddenly those 2 or 3 teams became 4 or 5, and it's not just been the one map of Valkyrie. Like a lot of the teams who are playing Valkyrie were just testing it on one map, but now it's been on every map. They seem to be enjoying Valkyrie, and I think just having that ability to get out of dodge or to just dive your way into a final zone or certainly get into a better position has been helping them out. Nice shots initially as Fnatic going to be taking this fight, but hello Dragons.
Dragons announced themselves to the fight. It's going to be evened up though as Valstera he going to think about finisher here? No, he's going to go for the res after getting the more traditional way to finish things off, and he's going to have his teammate come back to support him in Yuka as well, and that bubble goes down. So Leica and Fnatic are not going to be punished, as it looks like Dragons also are going to be able to reset pretty comfortably. I kind of want to go to a map overhead to show people at home right now what we're talking about, because this is one of the more fascinating map overheads I've seen ever, with console information being available for teams. It is very interesting, and this is a great example of how if the team at the PRY, where Zone goes, doesn't have ring console, it can influence what everybody else does who also might not have that information as well. Everybody thinks, who hasn't had console, because of the traffic they've seen ahead of them, that this is going to the north, but quite simply it's not.
Well, not only that, we also have 3 Valkyries in the lobby, so we've got 3 people hitting survey beacons who are seeing where these people are, and they are then joining them up there. So it is just adding to the factor of people playing sardines, essentially, and arriving at somewhere where they don't need to be. And then when this does move down to City Hall and surrounding areas, they're all going to have to move through the same choke points, and it's going to be absolute carnage.
I mean, the good thing for Complexity is they didn't go too deep here. They didn't go too far in, which means that they can, of course, just kind of retreat ahead of all of this crazy traffic that's going down. For Stallions, it was an interesting one, because Stallions, I saw they arrived pretty late, and just trying to double check here where Stallions were dropping on the map, but they arrived pretty late to where this zone is going to be going over at City Hall. And I think they would have arrived there and gone, why is nobody here? Like, we can have any pick of building that we want. And, you know, I mean, they moved from Vibe Isle, which is without a doubt the best POI name that we do have, all the way over, and that's not a pro position. That's a long way they had to go. They probably had to go through Energy Mag. And to get there and arrive, then you start questioning yourself, like, why is no one here? This is where Zone is. Do they know something that we don't? It's a very confusing picture on the map right now.
I used to call my university halls Vibe Isle. Great place to be.
I'm going to save you here.
You don't need to.
And not follow up anymore.
Good, I appreciate it. We don't need to go into it.
You can tell me afterwards why.
I definitely will. Well, Fnatic, after their a little bit of a engagement earlier, have now lost Leica. Looks like they're going to have to run and try and get back up to a full 3 as well. It seems to be a lot of teams kind of taking fights or getting caught out on their rotation. Just one player a little bit slow, straggling behind, and then having to back off, and it is just slowing your rotation down even more because you have to go back and res.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite callouts when you're playing. It's like, you see a team in front, or you see a team that you have 3 shots on, and someone just says, shoot last guy.
Yeah.
And the poor last guy.
Often a Gibraltar as well.
I don't know what that is about it, but
he's slower.
And Force 36 in zone, but not comfortably. However, the slam is going to come in to give them the control of the roof. They will be able to just settle down a little bit here. This is happening, by the way, as far away from zone as you can possibly get at the moment. It's Furia, who were on the other side of things. There's Gibraltar rolls going down. There's all sorts of nonsense going down, but neither team is essentially anywhere near each other at the moment. Finally, we do see a little bit of action going down, as I think Team Liquid Alienware were involved in and not going down onto Disguised. Looks like both those teams are too far apart to really convert that knock into a kill, but Alliance, well, they've decided it's time for some action.
Well, that bubble came down just in the right time to protect them from the Arcstar as well. That could have been ugly had he got it off, but now unlucky with not going to be able to do the damage, but maybe the follow-up from Effect down to Hackers.
Hackers on his own, doesn't connect with the first, does connect with the second, and that's the one that really mattered. X and Y will go RIP as they fall to Alliance once more, but here comes a potential third party here. Envy trying to chase him down.
Oh my god, Hackers actually going to get away from this. That was incredible scarpering over the Newcastle walls, and maybe getting away with it as well. The chase is going to be on.
Yanya! I mean, where did Complexity come from here? All of a sudden, they were looking for the third party. They were looking to chase down one, and now Complexity have decided just to rip Yanya down, and the game plan has completely changed for Envy.
Yeah, I think Alliance might be able to get away with this, and all the people that were up towards Lotus finally got that realization of the zone moving away, but Complexity will come in as cleanup crew, finishing off not only the one squad, but also the remainder of Alliance that was down on the floor. But Hackers did escape, and Hackers is now going to try and potentially get his team back on his feet. But he's currently marching towards City Hall. Crazy Raccoon going to be the last team to remove themselves from Lotus. Everyone did escape pretty successfully, by the way. They all kind of looked at each other and went, we got it wrong.
Is that an agreement? Everyone just want to leave? Yeah, we won't talk about this. Bridge, there you go. Fight going down in and around this bubble. And it's going to be Dragons eliminated as Dexter will clutch up for them and should be able to reset while this bubble is still upward, certainly while they've got the support of this pillar for now. But looking back at the zone, like you say, I think Crazy Raccoon were kind of like subject to circumstance there. They were just looting. And then all of a sudden, they're at the back building of the Lotus. Everybody else is in front of them. It's like, well, we can't leave now. Like, there's no way we can get through this traffic. So it's been their first opportunity to really explore the rest of the map to try and get anywhere near that zone.
I would love to kind of ask them what they were thinking about when everyone just turned up at Lotus and then the zone moved completely away from them as Envy have lost one. E36 will find a straggler. Yet again, one player, just not with the rest of the squad.
I think that was the respawn in Yanya that they took down as he fell from the sky. So E36 making sure that Yanya has to watch a little bit longer and that the rest of Envy have to maybe go on another journey to try and get back in.
It's so frustrating as well when you do get frustrated. You do get put back into the map, but then you're instantly chased as Fnatic. Could this be the end of their run here in this game? Second place at the moment in this series.
Oh, he grabbed him just at the last second. They get the bubble down. Always res the Gibby first because then they can get the bubble down and somehow, wow, Fnatic survive, but by the barest of margins. Don't shake your head at me.
Veritable margins. Fnatic now move over to the bus. Stallions were reluctant to push up on them, probably for good reason, because they look at where they currently reside and they're like, actually, we're in a very solid spot right now. We don't want to give this up, because if we do push up, get too aggressive, someone might whisk it away from us. Alliance back up to 3. They are very much going to be fighting the ring before they start to arrive.
Well, they've also got Furia right next to them. A little bit late to arrive too. I feel like everyone on the map at some point has to go through the Lotus.
Like a rite of passage.
For reasons I cannot give you. But Furia and Alliance are at the Lotus. They have completed their objective. And now Furia seem to want to take this fight.
This is going to be an ugly one. I don't like this at all.
I don't see how either team are winning here. I think leave each other alone and get to zone.
I think that's what Alliance want, but Furia maybe Keon? Yeah, he's fine. I hate it when it goes to this camera, by the way, and you're just like, are they going to survive? Have they healed quick enough? And the answer's going to be yes. Alliance are going to successfully get into the zone ahead of Furia, so now Furia need to be rethinking about how they want to proceed here. Do they just zip up into the sky? Because that's not going to be easy. I mean, because the zone is hitting for so much damage here, even a Valkyrie ult doesn't feel great.
Complexity are about to surprise Alliance, I think. And yes, indeed, there's those shots coming in, but luckily for Unlucky, he just managed to dip inside of the pizza shop, which is never a bad idea.
Just for a quick slice.
Don't really encourage anyone to do that at any opportunity. But it saves their life for now. The difference here is Complexity have the position, they have the zone, but they don't have the armor advantage. So this is a really interesting kind of situation where Complexity, I think, have recognized that and just backed up and said, you know what, Alliance, you can come into zone for now.
Elsewhere, Furia did jet up into the sky and will be heading right into central zone, as are GN right now. GoNext trying to find somewhere to call home, and they should be able to do so. And again, they're going to be central zone. So two teams redeploying and two teams successfully finding somewhere to play here.
This is what Newcastle can do, right? You find that kind of 90-degree hard surface, the natural cover that the map will provide you, and you get that Newcastle ultimate down. The castle wall just gives you 360 coverage, and as long as you cannot have those heads seen when the team's around, you're pretty much settled. Everything becomes a playable space. Now, inside of the zone, VK Gaming have been here for quite some time. 13th place in the overall standings between these two groups at the moment, with a real opportunity here to put some good points on the board with the position they have.
I think Snipedown, who mentioned it on the desk this morning, that he almost expected to see more Valkyrie on E-District because of the ability to kind of go over everything and not get caught in some of those chokes. And I think we're witnessing it here. Some of these teams that have gone up into the air, and even if it's just with a redeploy, you can actually land yourself down, spike yourself in the middle of the zone, and then suddenly you find yourself with a real opportunity of winning the game.
Sneaky VP. Waiting for the opportunity. Lou just trying to overextend a little bit here, forces the bubble, which is always a good thing to do. VP do have the bubble available themselves, and now Lou decides it's time to throw it down. A Havoc and an Eva 8. And a Jabral roll for good measure as well. There's one back. Retaliation. As the slam comes in from Zach Mesa, they want this fight.
That's one way to introduce yourself to the fight as well. A big old slam, but VP, they've lost one. Blue can't even rescue it either, and Virtus.pro, despite the aggression, will not win that engagement, will go down, and they're going to have to watch from the death screen here.
Elsewhere, just looking for some other fights that are taking place. Meteor, who are on the southern side of the zone. You can see how far they have to go on the top left-hand side of your screen. Well, we'll have to wait to see what their play is, because Guild, who won that previous game, are winning this fight here against Team Liquid Alienware. 2 members are down, 1 still remaining, who is just going to disengage completely from this fight, as Guild look to continue to kind of ride that little wave of momentum they found with that win in the previous game.
The slow start to the day from Liquid Alienware, a slow start to the series, seems to be continuing into match 5, which is not a good sign for them, as they do get eliminated in 16th spot, and they are actually in 16th position in the overalls as well. Not necessarily the performance we expected after their success in the BLGS and, of course, in Scrims 2. You can see where the zone is going to be heading. GoNext are going to be pretty much dead central to that, alongside the likes of Furia and Fnatic that you see on your screen, who are very much just putting up any wall they can to build a base here. And, you know, they have an escape route into the zone if they need it. Oh. Was that on purpose?
I do believe that Yuka may be asking, Leica, what are you doing?
He gets plucked out of the sky as well.
Did he land it? Did he stick the landing? That's the real question here. Are they going to be able to... Was he taken down? Did they get him back up? I didn't see it in the kill feed. Oh, Leica's down now, though, and that might hurt Fnatic. Always watch your step. You never know when there's a gravity lift behind you.
Maybe there's still a chance for a res. That does open up an opportunity for some people to actually push up a little bit and take some space here, because that's going to be one less team focusing on them at the moment. But this is a horrible zone to try and move in if you were not already finding yourselves in them. And look where the zone's going to be finishing as well. Down in the kind of watery areas. The Skies are just biding their time here. And I guess a good time whilst they consider where they go. Let's jump into a listening and see what they have to say.
5 seconds to ring closing, okay?
This looks...
Your call. This is climbable, right?
Yeah, I think so. Looks it.
Yeah, okay. Just make sure bridge forgets about us, and then we're walking in, like, under bridge. I think I'll be walling off the left, and we have to kill right. I think that's our play.
I'm 20% on all. 15-ish. Yeah. I'm not going to have it.
Wait to go.
Yeah, tell me that.
Time up. Oh, it is not.
It is.
Okay.
On the left.
Come very composed, but you're going to have to make some plays now, because you can see that they are on the quick side of zone. That is going to be closing behind them, as Effect is left as the last hope here for Alliance.
And I think this is going to be the kill feed lighting up, by the way. 15 squads in the moment, zone closing in, and there is nowhere really to play for a lot of these teams. They're going to be forced into engagements. This is where you want to try and find some KP to Sky. We had a listening with them, they had their plan of action, and now they start to march forward.
Yeah, this looks like a KP play for all of these teams. Supernova have gone Alliance, unfortunately. Effect could not keep them in the game much longer, as we now find ourselves closing in towards double digits, or single digits, in this lobby of teams left. Stallions, by the way, Abralelli has got a side angle here, and he is ripping away at some shields.
He's a Stallion, baby! Complexity go down. 11 squads now remain. Stallions will stabilize and will be on that initial side of the southeast, but disguised are close. By the way, there is so many teams congested in that one building. GoNext, VK, Enter Force 36, and Fnatic, all in that same area.
Crazy Raccoon and DreamFire on the northern side, though, maybe having a look at each other, but Stallions, a big fight win for them. Just remember, I think they got second place overall. It might have been third in that previous game. So find a little bit of form. And Abralelli back on the main stage. I mentioned it earlier, for the first time in 2 years, which is a crazy statistic in itself with the amount of talent that that man has. He's looking very, very comfortable on the rampart so far in this tournament. Stallions playing this bridge position for now, but you can see that they're going to have to move very soon.
I think the two teams that we have to be thinking about here as well, Crazy Raccoon and DreamFire, the only two on the northern side. Everyone else down in this madness on the south. Guild starting to chuck. Fnatic and STERGO go down. 9 squads now remain.
Funny trying to stop this res coming in. Gonna get the re-knock. Crazy Raccoon have been eliminated on that north side, so the north side of this zone will belong to DreamFire for now, as Guild will continue their merry little dance that they've started in these last 2 games. Into the top 8, more KP for them. Gilda coming to life.
Stallions are actually making a rotation around on the eastern side as well. They'll be able to take a fight against DreamFire. Winner of that could potentially win this game, but the bombardments are coming out to try and keep them at bay. Stallions sends it again! Here comes Al!
Here comes Sheila. And Albrelelli, just poked through the mobile shield, and Stallions will be eliminated. It was a game-winning play from them. If they win that fight, they knew they might have been able to take the game. Unfortunately for them, just didn't go their way. Furia gone, Guild eliminated. In the meantime, we are in to our top 5.
It's DreamFire's game to lose. You have to feel here, unless all the other teams start to focus them. But at the moment, they're all looking at each other. Perhaps Disguise might be the best team to have a chance here, because they are not in this building.
VK up on the top still. E36 will be eliminated as well. They will be the next team to fall as we get to our final 4. VK Gaming as a duo. Still able to play this high ground for just a little bit of time here. DreamFire, this is the team you were talking about, Dan. They cleared that northern side, and they still have the most space to play, as our observers will show you beautifully.
They are having a look over towards Disguise. They recognize that's the threat, but you are going to see the Dark Veil arrive just to allow Disguise to cross a little bit, get closer. They are trying to close the gap between themselves and DreamFire, but now VK and GoNext both looking at them at the same time. And this is not going to be as easy as you might have thought for DreamFire. They are really trying to avoid the gunfire, but it's going to be difficult.
We'll GoNext are in first place overall at the moment. Might be about to take first place in this game as well. Disguise have gone. DreamFire have gone as well. And even though the castle wall will go down, it's just a duo for them to deal with. And GoNext again will win here in Sapporo as Amir claims another victory.
Beautifully played by GoNext as well, just on the lower side of that building, being able to avoid the gunfire initially, and actually almost directing traffic towards DreamFire, just pointing out towards them, shoot these guys for us and we might win the game, and thus they did. So GoNext continue their dominance, continue to find points, and continue to own this series. And that is going to be great news for them and their chances of getting into the winner's bracket.
You have to wonder, you know, winning that game with only one more remaining in this set between the two teams, is that enough to solidify them onto first place, to claim this first place in B versus D? It's been such an impressive day for Amir, and I'm going to keep talking about it because, well, I'm from Europe and I'm allowed to.
We have to take the little victories when we can. Oh, actually, it feels like a pretty big victory.
I don't flip like you.
There's been some
Dual
dark
passport
times.
holder where you're like, oh, I'm an A one day, maybe the next.
Hey, I mean, if I've got them, the Olympics is always a fun one. That's when you really can turn to USA.
I want all gold medals. Well done, you.
Well, here's a look at the heavy hitters as always. And it really was a game that could have gone either way. I think that northern side battle, it really opened up for DreamFire, but even when you think the game might be in your hands, right, there is always something that can change that, and all it takes is a little bit of focus from other teams. You saw the Valkyrie missile started to arrive at their feet. I think they panicked a little bit. The bubble came down maybe too early, and that left them vulnerable to some of the other ultimates. But this is how the series results look after that game. GoNext have created that gap between themselves and Fnatic to 23 points, and you alluded to it. Maybe that's just enough to have them top these two groups, and that'll do them wonders of getting closer to the winners bracket as well.
Something to keep your eyes on, though, is how close the chasing pack was. Only a couple of points separating. It felt like second to like 17th, essentially, place by place. So still all to play for here in this game, and in this final game, I would say, of this lobby, B versus D, and it sets us up beautifully to conclude what is going to be an amazing day of action here.
Yeah, it has been a brilliant day so far, and I think we're going to end on a bang as well, because E-District, I mean, that's the kind of end zones that we are provided with. Just pure entertainment, absolute chaos, madness around every single corner, but ultimately it's going to be the team that could just sometimes avoid all of that conflict and then perfectly bide their time at the end moment.
Yeah, it's been a very interesting lobby to watch it develop and how some of these games have been played. We're going to have to see if GoNext can close things out here. One more game to come today. We'll bring it to you just after this break. Do not go anywhere. Sweet, managing to just about jump into the void here, but he's going to run around this corner. I'm pretty sure the Esports might be aware of it, but look at this. Somehow Sweet has managed to escape for now. Or is he just going to wait a few more seconds, trying to bait these two teams into fighting each other? And somehow, Sweet's still alive with 6 squads remaining, but it's looking like the end. 1 HP. NRG still surviving. How are you doing this, Sweet?
This could be massive for NRG. This could be the difference between 4th place and top 2.
Sweet's still alive for now, though. He's going to jump into the void once more. 3 squads remaining. This is magic coming in from Sweet. The problem for him is a lack of meds now. He's going to run late into zone. He might be able to get top 2 if he can get this knock as well, but finally he will fall to the Nox gas.
Sapporo, and a quick shout out to one of our wonderful sponsors who have been taking care of us here, and of course it's going to be the InZone M10S, which is proudly been chosen as the official monitor for the ALGS Year 4 Championship and Year 5 live events, showcasing its exceptional performance. InZone is a gaming gear brand from Sony, meticulously crafted for core gamers with a lineup of high quality gaming monitors and headset. The InZone M10S is ready to provide an exhilarating experience for the esports enthusiasts while giving you the competitive edge that you need. Let InZone elevate your gameplay to new heights. Dan, everyone in this lobby right now is playing on this monitor, and I've got to say, it is a beautiful thing.
And a few teams need to elevate themselves to new heights as well if they want to find a good amount of points here in this series and get themselves closer to that winner's bracket. Otherwise, this is where we start to think about teams getting closer to that elimination bracket. And you don't really want to find yourself there.
It's a long road.
It is a long road, but
very,
actually,
very long road.
We have seen some teams in the past find success from the elimination bracket where they just need a bit of a kick up the backside sometimes.
Sometimes it's just more games under the belt. You find a little bit of rhythm, something clicks all of a sudden, and before you know it, you win in every lobby. It's a weird thing sometimes in Apex Legends. You just need to find that groove, find that consistency, and sometimes that elimination bracket run, if you make it through to the finals, all of a sudden you feel pretty good about things. So getting into that final day, I always say it's an achievement in itself. It's such a tough task, especially with the amount of money that's on the line here at the ALGS Championships as well, with the prestige that is for the biggest event of the year, and also, you know, the first land that we've had here in in Japan as well, which is something to make history as well, right? You want to be the winner of the first APAC North land that we've had, the first APAC North Championship. You want to claim it as your own.
The biggest Apex event in history. I mean, you look at the amount of people, you look at the size of this stadium that we find ourselves in, the Sapporo Dome, and you really want to be a part of that history, the leader, as it were, of the history that's going to be unfolding. But a long old road to go, and we're only at Wednesday. It's a 5-day event. Just as a reminder, in case you forgot, 5-day event.
Well, for a second there, I thought I was in Germany, which kind of sums up where my jet lag's at.
Your mind is still in Germany, but your body is in Japan.
I don't know where my mind is right now, honestly, but it's best not to discuss that.
Well, GoNext, they find themselves at the very tippy top of this leaderboard in the series. Their second victory of the day coming on E-District, and they do it from Galleria as well, which, you know, they didn't have to move too far, but perhaps they were one of those squads that didn't get caught up in Lotus.
I was about to say, we need to talk about that a little bit, right? Because Apex Legends is a game of information at the start of the game, right? It's very rare that in these competitive lobbies, these hyper-competitive lobbies, that people really want to take fights early on because they know the risk that involves. You lose a first fight, you go out with 0 points. Absolutely none whatsoever. You are going to take nothing away from that lobby. So everyone is playing for information, and if information isn't available in a ring console for you, you could so easily be influenced by the only information that's available for you, which is a visual spot of a team and the place that they're moving to. If you see someone going somewhere, there has to be a reason for it. And with the zone, that first zone where it was, nobody knew it was going back, you know, towards City Hall. Everyone is banking on somebody around them having a ring console at their POI, and playing off of that information just meant, like you say, and like we saw, you have this weird kind of exacerbated effect of everybody butterflying effect into the Lotus before all of a sudden everyone went, something's off. Something's not quite right here.
I do like the idea of them all looking at each other and being like, right, we're all going to look stupid if we fight
It's
here.
like the Homer Simpson backing into the hedge.
So let's just leave Lotus. We'll all leave each other and we'll fight later when we arrive at the actual POI. But I think maybe complexity, one of the leading factors there, because they didn't have a ring console, and they started to move very quickly to the northern side, and I think those rotating saw Complexity leaving, and we're like, okay, well, if they're leaving, then surely we're not going over here. And yeah, it was just an odd chain of events, but it was rectified very fast. Everyone got out pretty clean. Are we going to see something similar and equally as silly here in match 6? It's E-District once again. It is the last match of the day. And I can't wait, because E-District has provided so much entertainment already, and it's only day 1.
It's only a different pace to it, it feels as well. Match 6, the final match, like you say, of today's action, the opening day here in Japan at the ALGS Championships. As the teams will descend from their dropships for the last time before a well-earned rest this evening. And looking at the zone, it looks like we might be experiencing off the zone 1. It's very brave to call it here. I'm going Humber. I'm going Humber.
I think Humber Labs.
I'm going Humber.
And we have seen a couple of Humber Labs finishes so far today. The very small pool of data that we have. I mean,
by the way, if this goes Humber, I'm some sort of like genius. Please go Humber. We'll see the map over in a few seconds as we watch GoNext. By the way, what a performance for GoNext. We really need to be talking about this a little bit more. The EMEA team who, honestly, probably not talked about enough coming into this tournament, because there's just so many stories. It didn't go Humbert, by the way. There's so many stories for us to try and cover, one of which being the most threatening chicken on the planet, which is, of course, the mascot of Chicken Beak.
Why is he not dual-wielding them? That's the real question, but
pre-patch.
Stallions are going to be dead center of this zone that's pulling up towards Heights and between Heights and the stadium. We talked about reaching Heights. Well, Alliance, they are dropping over towards Heights, and they do have Ring Console as well. So one of the teams that we will keep an eye on is where they move to and how fast they move as well, where they believe this is going. Obviously, we do see often on E-District it pull towards Heights, but with the zone going, it could be a little bit further south. So it'll be a difficult one to commit to for Alliance, indeed.
Well, Stallions, who had the interesting kind of situation where they arrived at where they were told the ring was going, because they kind of picked up beacon information in that last game towards City Hall. This time over at Vibe, they don't have a ring console, but they have a great potential position. And there are not a lot of teams moving their way. Everyone's wrapping kind of towards the north side of the map at the moment to base their information off, and look at this. They are leaving towards Stadium, probably thinking about hitting a ring console.
GoNext as well had information at Galleria, and they have moved very fast over towards Heights and actually have wedged themselves right between Alliance. They almost catch the straggler of Alliance, but they've been able to group back up. So 2 teams going to be over towards Heights, so that's a good indication of that's kind of the general direction it's pulling, and I think that's what we would all assume with a circle like this anyway. But that's great news for GoNext. If they want to be able to solidify even more points in this series, they've moved very quickly.
Well, somebody may have been listening outside of the headset. It's a joke, by the way. Obviously, no one would do that at my Humbert Labs call. And if they were, honestly, karma. Because this is a fight going down at Humbert where the zone is certainly not going. X and Y, DreamFire, and Green STERGO, of course, pretty close to the vicinity of this fight as well. As IHW, I Hate the World, with a couple of pop shots with that triple take going to connect. Dragons wrapping around the map themselves at the moment. This is down towards Shipyard Arcade, and it's E36 who they're trying to fight.
It's very interesting. All the teams seem to have kind of dispersed from the central area of the map, and everyone's moved to the edge to make their rotations. As Fnatic, the nades go out.
So many.
Are they good?
It's more of a demolition nade by the sounds of things. Not a huge amount of damage being done. You're seeing a slam coming out as well. Like having to play this one nice and slowly. This Gibraltar doesn't want to step forward because Yuka is there, and Dragons will be eliminated. The baiting perfect from Fnatic, and off the back of a little bit of initial damage done. Very comfortable reset for them, and a very comfortable 3 KP being picked up.
I really want to look back at the man cannon play from previous as well.
I don't think Fnatic will. I think you're in the wrong building for that.
Oh yeah, that's true. Maybe we can get a highlight just for me personally. But Enterforce 36 were on the other side of that fight, did not push up onto Fnatic. And Fnatic now find themselves kind of between Virtus.pro and Enterforce 36 on their rotation, but it's probably going to be a shadowing effect where everyone moves along that southern side. As I said, most people have moved onto the edge. The 2 teams that haven't and have found themselves more central, I think this is mainly, by the way, because people don't want to rotate through Energy Bank, because a lot of people do not enjoy it and they find it very unsuccessful because often you get caught in those chokes. Well, Guild and Meteor are the only two teams. They had a little bit of a situation where they started to shoot one another, but Guild have thought better of it and said, actually, if that's the only team we're seeing right now, maybe it's time we move and take advantage of lack of teams in this area.
Yeah, Guild are making an interesting play here towards Galleria as we take a look at Team Liquid Alienware versus Furia on our feed, because I think they're going to try and play for late beacon information over at Galleria and then make their play based off of that. They currently have current information, so I think they're going to wait for that ring close and maybe play for next as well, because that's going to give them a little indication if they're going to get one of those kind of classical E-District surprise zone pools, so to speak, where it might pull out a little bit from heights where a lot of teams are already set up. Liquid Alienware, though, 17th overall in 5 games. It's not what we expected to see from the North American BLGS champs.
I don't want to say it's because of me, but again, that's my prediction going down the train.
You want me to say it?
Please.
Because of you.
There's genuinely a curse today, I feel. Cloud9, Falcons, Team Liquid, all of them.
You should join what I do.
Just don't do predictions.
Don't do predictions.
I do feel bad. I feel like I have a
solution
power.
for that. I can fix that.
Just don't do them. I don't know if I'm allowed. I get forced. I don't know how you've managed to get out of it.
Wait, I've actually just exposed myself
very
badly here. I'd love to, I just never get asked.
Oh, that's what it is it?
Yeah.
I can change that. I can fix that for you if you want. I remember there being an onset curse once upon a time, and maybe that's why you don't.
That's a long time ago.
Well, Fnatic, this southern rotation that I was mentioning, now they have to look at another team. It's Virtus.pro. They've done a lot of damage, and there's the knock. And Fnatic now they're going to send it.
Slayer gets picked off. And it looks like they're going to try and escape using that Dark Veil from the Catalyst here, VP. Interesting to see if they did get the res, or if it's just going to be the 2 players who are going to be scarpering away. It is going to be just the 2. As you can see, Fnatic are hunting them down at the moment, trying to pick up those final pieces, but Supernova are wrapping through the storm towards where they are as well. So this is a very interesting position they find themselves in.
Yeah, Supernova now shooting Fnatic in the back as well. So Virtus.pro, there is a potential chance for them to turn around and join in on the damage. But it looks like they are able to escape, and Fnatic, though, do not want them to. They are still hunting, as Virtus.pro are doing a full-on loop right now, and they're going to get back to where they previously were, but I don't think it's going to work out, at least not for that one. Zach Mazer goes down. Still 1 alive, though, to VP.
I do believe the term hot pursuit could be used there. Fnatic not letting anyone get away that can get away. And now they will recollect themselves up on that bridge that you can see in front of you, and what was maybe a slight worry for them in Supernova. Now they can engage them a little bit more comfortably. By the way, VP not dead at the moment. VP still have 1 alive, and they're heading into Viaduct at the moment, and there is going to be an opportunity to craft a banner and a beacon.
A banner, a beacon, and back in the game. Whilst Fnatic
bacon roll.
Bacon.
That's all right.
Well, Fnatic and Supernova. Looks like it's going to come to an end. Fnatic don't want to take that anymore, and maybe they're thinking, all right, well, we should start to look to move towards this zone. Speaking of zone, by the way, it has moved and continued to transition up towards heights, so the early movers are rewarded for arriving there early. But GoNext were the first team we did see really prioritize that zone. It's late. Give me a break.
Yeah, give us a little bit of wiggle room here, everybody.
I mean, and not just for us. We have to remember, like, very taxing on some of the players. Been playing 9 AM to 9 PM. It is a bit of a slog, some of these group stage days, so we speak about being able to really power through these days and find your consistency and find your form. Really have to stay well fed, well hydrated as well.
Fnatic trying to chase down Meteor at the moment outside of Energy Bank, which is exactly what you can see on the overhead. Meteor have a little bit of a distance, a gap on them at the moment, and I wonder if Fnatic are trying to really not give away their position and think about mirroring what Meteor are going to do. There's a couple of Evo Harvesters available for them to hit on their way through as well. Fnatic might be thinking about setting up the ambush here, or one thing we don't, of course, know is if Meteor know about them being behind them. Well, they certainly do now, as the shots will ring true.
Well, Meteor are one of those teams that have been running the Valkyrie, so do have that escape card if they're able to do so. Virtus.pro back up to a full 3 as well, by the way, and they're going to be rotating in from that southwest side, but they are very far behind, so they're not even a part of this engagement that you're seeing on your screen. Meteor still running, by the way, and they are split. They need to regroup. If they are going to utilize the Valkyrie ultimate, they have to get together on that northern side of Energy Bank, as it looks like Fnatic will now leave them.
Yeah, by getting into the center of Energy Bank, they essentially have the high ground now over Fnatic as well. That's why you see Fnatic just change their tune a little bit here. They're going to try and cross and go slightly more directly towards the zone. Also, zone is closing, so both teams now essentially parallel to the edge of that zone, running in towards the safety, which will be just kind of towards the choke of the big wall. And elsewhere, you can see at Stadium, Furia might be being wrapped here by Supernova, who are having to expend a huge amount of health heals just to get here.
Yeah, it might be a gift here at Stadium for Furia, actually. They catch wind of where Supernova are arriving. We've been kind of following the story of all these teams on the south because they were the only 4 teams not in zone, but they almost all of them have found themselves in zone bar Virtus.pro now, and we get to check in with them and their rotation. At one point, all of these teams were kind of scrapping with one another, but somehow they're all alive, as that zone is a big ship. We'll check in with that a little bit later as Disguised now are getting involved, and it's actually going to be Disguised versus Furia, and that will allow Supernova to just pass these teams and maybe rotate ahead of them.
Everyone thinking about next hitting that console was his Strafe Flame picking up the kill onto Ken. The knock does come through, but not the confirmation, not the elimination that they're looking for at the moment. There's a couple of things I want to talk about in a few seconds that might have thrown a few teams off as well. One, Mythic Bin, where it was spawning, and the fact that it's pulled back towards where that Mythic Bin did spawn. So a lot of teams would have thought, hey, they're usually spawning away from where the zone is going. Not this time around. And for the likes of GoNext, Stallions, Guild, Envy, Alliance, if you thought it was going heights, they're going to have to change their tune a little bit here, as is Keon, from dealing damage to staying alive.
A lot of those teams won't know that zone has shifted yet, by the way, because they won't have that information. They'll find it a little bit later as Furia do get the initial knock onto Strafing Flame. Any response? Yes, there is. It's a 1-for-1.
Okay, you're going to be able to not only res, but Furia will now be eliminated, but here comes Supernova. And they will clean things up here. They were the third party. They were the team that was waiting in the wings to clean up those pieces, and clean them up very comfortably they did. Stadium belongs to them, and with that, there's a beacon for them to play with too.
And actually, that ring console is going to do them wonders because they're going to get this information before the 10 teams you mentioned before that are over towards heights, because the zone has shifted back towards the west. And the only team that is, or the only teams on that area, enter Force 36, Complexity, and now Virtus.pro, the team that were almost down and out earlier. They went on a merry-go-round chase as they tried to avoid as the Benny Hill music was playing, but now they are back in one of the better positions as they are going to be in the next zone.
Yeah, Virtus.pro all of a sudden have Godspot, which is crazy to think about what their journey has been towards this position. We also saw Alliance there taking to the skies to find themselves inside of the next zone. So you're probably wondering, how do they know about that? Well, look what's at the top of the building of heights that they were holding, a ring console. So they would have been able to hit that. As soon as they've seen it, they've left. And I wonder if other teams around who saw that console on the map and saw what Alliance did are all of a sudden starting to panic and think, well, there's a reason that Alliance have left. We're going to have to leave too.
Well, they're all going to find out right about now, as that zone will shift for those who did not have ring console. And they will get the bad news that they are going to have to move all the way west. And then when they do, it's actually going to be on the eastern side of this circle as well. So Complexity in a really good spot. Alliance have found themselves in a fantastic one as well. But Virtus.pro, who had moved in from that southwest, are going to continue to have to move a little bit further north.
Kind of a similar feel when you're looking at the disparity of teams across the map at the moment to the World's Edge game that we saw a little bit earlier. A lot of teams stacked up on that eastern side. And the battle for the west might be the team who wins things. Crazy Raccoon versus Guild at the moment, and this is looking very, very one-sided, and one-sided indeed it will be. Crazy Raccoon will take them down as we find ourselves now with 16 squads alive.
I'll go next, though. They started to get involved. Nihake has very much full sent it, and maybe a little bit too soon, as GoNext now are going to be left as a 2, and they will not be able to engage here. That was a gift to Crazy Raccoon. Supernova also eliminated in the kill feed, and there are, like, 4 teams fighting here on the southeast, by the way, but also commotion on the northwest. Liquid Alienware, Meteor, Fnatic, all in the same kind of area.
Well, Liquid Alienware need a game here. I mentioned how tight it is outside of GoNext. You kind of have the gap at the top of the leaderboard. This Valkyrie's got to be very careful. Level Ace will be ripped from the skies. Didn't even get to really get the Jets going at that point.
Well, Liquid Anywhere still only at 2 though, but Sheila makes it 2.5. And as you mentioned, they really need something. Good GoNext, who did lose one a little bit earlier, thankfully. With the current meta, you are able to get back up very quickly indeed. So we lost another squad down to now 14 teams, as this zone is going to begin to force all these squads together. Team Liquid have just lost another. Meteor also lose one as well. They are battling tooth and nail on this northern side. Fnatic starting to get involved.
GoNext are in first place at the moment and making them move towards the zone. Liquid Alienware eliminated. Let's jump into the comms here with GoNext and see what the play is.
In between, come. Down here, come guys, on me.
I ulted towards the back. I need to ult towards the back.
Do. If you crouch, these guys cannot see us, okay? You need to crouch. Those, they are there, don't see them. We need to just chill.
No, they're picking.
Just guys, I need cells, I have nothing, boys. Okay, thank you. I'll go.
They're breaking.
Move left, on me, complete safe, Nice, on Zidan good, stay chill.
We need to do something.
We're gonna need to make a play, we need to swing bottom.
Bottom, you sure?
I think we swing bottom, yeah, we do.
Bottom is tough.
Go from left, come. Here, come. Just come to me. I'm gonna do the G bubble. I did the G bubble. Here.
Step up 2.
Can you climb up on me, boys? Come, they're coming, boys. It's good. On me, boys.
I'm on you.
Holy fuck.
Good job. Chris, you come. This is the G.
Nice.
There's people bottom there, Yarka. So we got pull the door.
How much
on the wall? Did you took that anyway?
You cannot fall inside. Duxako cannot fall inside.
I didn't. I couldn't take it.
I'm using Gotex cell. Do you want it to
Shouldn't you give him? I have it on 50.
Okay. 15 or 50?
50%.
I'll take.
I need it. So we have it for... We're gonna get needed, 100%.
But you cannot put it inside.
Yeah.
I did it.
This team is aiming at us with Vampire.
You should follow it.
What a beautiful rotation. You saw the intensity of the call. Like, this building's free. We can make a crazy rotate here, and it's exactly what they do. GoNext inside in the next zone as now we start to focus on the teams that aren't. E36 have just taken to the sky. They are going to fall in towards that zone. On the southern side, you've got Great STERGO and you've got VK Gaming trying to force their way into zone. Envy as a solo still alive in this game as well.
VK hunting at the moment, looking for that other squad, but they were able to just get around. Envy have just been eliminated. Fnatic now in a fight as well, and should be able to get a lot of damage here, and will do so. Yuka is shredding, and it's Complexity versus Fnatic. Woo! We've seen that so much today, but again, Fnatic come out on top.
Gotta be so careful this zone behind them though. You saw a little touch from that zone, and 2 players would have been on their back. VK Gaming now on the southern side of this zone will be safe. And now we've got to be aware of a team just below them underneath that bridge as well, just hunting down there like an ogre.
You really don't want to cross one of them at the wrong time. Just going back briefly, by the way, to that play we saw from GoNext, the ability to change your plan so quickly as an IGL, from fighting, from swinging, to suddenly actually seeing an opening and taking advantage of it. And now GoNext give themselves a chance again to potentially win this game. But you can see where the circle's going to be heading. It is not going to be comfortable for any of these teams right now. No one is in arguably a good spot. Everyone has to work so hard to get out of their current position.
One team is at some very good Game 6 performances today is the hometown heroes, Fnatic, and they are involved once again in this Game 6, right towards those final moments. 10 squads remaining. The lobby has been side in half from what we started with, as Alliance in 6th place in the overalls now move into that top 9, as Meteor will be the next to fall.
9 squads remain. Everyone just kind of peppering one another at the moment, doing a little bit of damage of anyone who exposes themselves a little bit too much. But I think it's going to be the zone that's really going to dictate the pace of this game now. Suddenly, though, Enter Force 36 began to show us what we've seen once before, diving from the heavens.
Good damage coming in. Synap's going to be last alive here, and they do win that fight. A couple of armors going to be dropped out of the box. If they can get the res off, it means they've got the HP to play with when they land. Fnatic still alive at the top of your screen, as the middle bridge will be held by Crazy Raccoon. It looks like Alliance have just been evicted from one of those little shops they were playing as well, as Stallions were down below them.
Alliance one of the first to move. Still have Gibby Bombardment as well to play with. Crazy Raccoon that you mentioned now posturing up against Fnatic here, but looks like the Dark Veil could separate them, and that does create an opening to move.
The Dark Veil completely splits the zone in half and essentially helps out both of the teams.
That's just blind fire through the Dark Veil, hoping for the best.
Fnatic now trying to navigate their way through the Gibraltar roll that is falling from the skies. The mobile shield's going to be good enough to keep them healthy enough to potentially reset here, but they're getting swung. And while they're getting swung, numerous teams start to focus in on them as Lycan tries to get away with that Newcastle wall.
Enter Force 36, by the way, avoiding all of this on the eastern side. They have a real opportunity. GoNext down to 1. They'll be eliminated. 6 squads now remain, but Alliance are fighting right in the dead center here.
And it's Alliance on blue shields who are watching all of this unfold in front of them. They've got Stallions above them. Albralele has just spotted them out as well as the Sheila starts to pick up speed once more. Crazy Raccoon, they're gone. 4 squads remain.
Keep an eye on E36. They are still down. They are still in an area no one else can see them right now, avoiding all of this gunfire, and they are biding their time. This is similar to what we saw from GG earlier.
The damage that came in from Lou there for VP has done so much, but now we find ourselves with End of Force 36 continuing their merry way towards a winning moment in the final game today. E36 closed the day out here on day 1 with another victory.
What a game it was from Enter Force 36. And it was all the move onto the east side as well. Again, I mentioned it earlier when we were watching GoNext. As an IGL, when you see one of those openings, when you see one of those pockets where you can just get into an amount of space where you can avoid the gunfire and you can then have that moment to breathe, to consider, to actually think about how you want to play that final circle. And Enter Force 36 did just that. Even though traditionally you'd think, you know, oh, high ground, it's so important, but how many times today have we seen teams finding the low ground, avoiding the sight lines, but then engaging after all the damage has been done by other teams? But it was the initial drop from Enter Force 36. They full sent the team that was below them, which gave them that opening in the first place. 13 kills, 25 points on the board. E36 really putting on a show.
Again, in second place, just in behind was Stallions. Some really strong performances from Stallions in that final set of games that we've seen for today. Alliance up there, once again, not the high KP game that they were looking for, but some good placement points along the way. It was enough, however, as we look at the series results here between groups B and D, for GoNext, the EMEA team, to take home first place. 66 points overall for them, and a great, about almost as good a split as you could ask for when it comes to KP and placement.
E36 do put themselves ahead of Fnatic, though, in second with that jump up from that performance. And placement points, I think, is the key issue there for the likes of Fnatic and Crazy Raccoon. Plenty of kills, but just not getting into those final moments. But I think Fnatic maybe feel like they had already done enough earlier today with an incredible early start to today's performance, and they follow up with a solid 52 points as well. We will most likely be seeing Fnatic in the winner's bracket, but of course we'll allow things to play out across the next day.
Yeah, just looking at the other side of things as well, there's a couple of teams that you have to highlight as maybe feeling a little bit disappointed after that game and after that series we just saw. Envy, you're looking at right there, a lot of talk about them coming into today. Furia, a little bit of a weird set for them. They just seem to be getting caught out quite a lot and having to reset. And then you're looking at, you know, Liquid Alienware again, who left it late, let's not remember, to qualify for the finals at the Split 2 playoffs, the BLGS champions. Well, not looking like they're in championship form right now, but it's only day 1, of course. So much more Apex left to play.
Only day 1, but only one more series for them to try and get things back on the board, to be honest. Otherwise, they might find themselves in the elimination bracket. But this is the overall scoreboard. This is all of the group stages so far accumulated to find Alliance on top. 120 points, followed very closely by hometown heroes Fnatic on 117. Very likely, if not definite, that we will be seeing those two teams in the winners bracket.
Yeah, not a great set in the last one that we saw from Fury or Envy, but they got enough points on the board a little bit earlier today to feel very comfortable inside of that top 10. Elsewhere, you're looking a little bit further down. 11th place Stallions, I think they'll be very happy with how the games have gone for them today. The surprise is maybe on this page that we see in front of ourselves right now. You're looking at Team Falcons down in 29th. You're looking at the likes of LG down in 33rd.
Worth noting, of course, that some of these teams have only played one series, other than the 2 series that have been played by a lot who are in that top 20. So even though, yes, okay, it's not been the best of days so far for some of them, they will have a chance to rectify that when they play tomorrow morning to try and chase that leading pack.
Right down at the bottom, FaZe Clan. They had a couple of fights. I was looking at their fights a little bit earlier, and it felt like there was a little bit of a lack of confidence in some of those fights that they were taking. But how quickly that can certainly change when you just have that one big game to get you rolling. But some of the takeaways from you today, Dan, I mean, it's been a fantastic day, number one. Of course, we've got 4 more days of action to come before we get to our match point finals. I mean, what's some of your takeaways?
Some of my takeaways have just been an amazing first day. I think there's a lot of nerves at the moment, but I think that people are starting to really warm up to LAN, and tomorrow is just going to be even better.
It certainly is indeed, and we're going to send it back to the desk now because the games are done to break it down and what we've seen so far today, and of course, get you excited for tomorrow as well.
All right, thanks, guys. Congratulations on a great cast and a great day. We are back to close it out. What a moment it has been. Just welcoming everyone in the crowd, all of the desks again, Jayhawk, Zephyr, Lace on Rain Day to kind of set the tone for what we've experienced, but also look ahead to tomorrow, which should be an even more exciting day. We mentioned those scoreboards. Yes, a lot of those teams, they've played twice. Few teams, though, 100 Thieves. You look at TSM, North American kind of hopefuls. They only played once. They're still in the top 20. That's a great sign for things to come. Tomorrow will really give us a glimpse as to who is going to be joining us in those winners brackets and who's going to be close to elimination come Friday.
Absolutely, and some of those teams that started off really strong today, they get the benefit too of now seeing some of maybe the more chaotic gameplay that we just watched. They get to go back to the drawing board and say, how do we adjust to this going into tomorrow, where teams might be a little more desperate because this could be maybe only our second or third set where we're kind of already locked in, but they need to do something a lot bigger, so they might be playing a little bit of a different way. And so the fact that they were able to witness that could be beneficial.
You know, this is a race in so many different ways where you're trying to race not only with your own team on how to figure out what's going to work, but you're sometimes just trying to race to get kills. It's as simple as that. Hit shots, hit bullets, and then get kills. That's why we wanted to introduce a very clear new segment here, our Sony in-zone kill leader race. And Zeph, we get a chance to take a look at this, break down some of what we're seeing here in terms of our weapons. It kind of made sense. Yeah, the Mastiff, it's up there.
It's a fantastic selection for anyone when we talk about the current shotgun meta. I'm personally surprised when we talk about the PK, but it has some favor across the board, especially more when we talk about international representation. Yes. Of course, you do see the implication with both that G7 Scout and, of course, Nemesis down there at the bottom. Due to that hop-up and such an advantage it provides, of course, when we talk about the expenditure of those ultimates, getting that percentage back and being an absolute boon to some of these really chaotic end zones where you need to have that utility constantly up.
And you know, that Mastiff or the Nemesis or the Scout or whatever it is, sometimes it doesn't matter what's in the hands of Effect, who was our kill leader today. So good, so deadly. Been obviously a part of Alliance's core identity, and just so happy to have him back here on this big stage.
Absolutely, and it's one of the better representations that we've gotten to see from this roster in terms of the quality of Effect. I know sometimes we come to these lands and it can be a bit shaken getting into that flow, and while they do come out really on top of the group stage, it's usually something that tends to build up over the course of some really incredible group play throughout our first 2 days. This is one of the first times I really have seen Effect start off on one of the best foots that we've ever gotten to see here, and it's maybe something that'll potentially continue for Alliance.
Yeah, a huge part about his story, Lace, as it's continued, is he's performed up until a certain moment, and then that kind of became not a story anymore. He got over that hump. This is another opportunity to see, you know, where is he with it? It clearly informed today, and so is Alliance. You know, in terms of favorites, and you look at teams, I mean, they're top of the leaderboard. They are #1 so far after day one.
Yeah, I know we've been talking about it all day, just everything coming up, Alliance, but you know, it was actually really close in that last game. Fnatic had the opportunity to actually take over them with that. They had about 12 points there. If they just kept alive for one more moment, they might have been at the top of the leaderboard, but you know what? Not enough for Alliance.
Well, big congratulations for them. Not only are they at the top of the leaderboard, but Effect is your kill leader for our Sony in-zone leaderboard after day one. We'll see who gets it after day two, so we'll keep tabs
on that throughout of all of it. Also, we had some great moments today, and so we want to give you a little segment where we highlight those favorite moments with the help of Alienware. And, you know, I took the L off of that. It could have been Laces. It's Aces. Alienware Aces. This is that first one where Fnatic get the very first win in APAC North soil for the very first game of LAN. How amazing was that?
It was in the script. No, it was, you know, it was electrifying having that win, though. There was no script, guys. It's so fine. But, you know, just to hear the crowd sort of roar for, you know, their home team, but they deserved it so much.
This is a second one right here, another one of our plays for Alienware Aces. Sometimes not always a good idea to take a trident. That orange bubble, it protects you, but it does kind of also look like shoot me bulb, right?
That one was a little painful to see because we were watching it, we were going, oh, what are we doing? And then they tried to go back and it was too late.
And this final one here, Ben, it just doesn't get any better than that. Kind of a capstone to what had been happening all day. Yuka F swings with the Kraber, no scope, and then closes out their third win of the day.
He did miss a few at the start.
No. Mechanical Legend. Mechanical Legend.
Talk
about the hits.
When it counted, he was there, okay? I did 3 misses, but then the hip fire connected, so just want to point that out.
You hit the one that mattered.
Yeah, exactly.
And they got what they needed to. Second place, only 3 points behind. Maybe a couple of those Kraber shots would have done differently, but congrats on taking 2 out of our 3 Alienware Aces plays of the day. A lot of moments happened, and you know, I think at the end of a tournament like this, you'll look back and some of these will stick in your mind. Some will just be fun moments of the day. But for you, what you're carrying forward into tomorrow, I'll go down the line to close out, Jayhawk. What stood kind of the test of this entire day from morning, afternoon to evening as to something that was prevalent, you know, as a theme that we're starting to see here in Sapporo?
Ultimately, I think this is where a lot of our competitors' mentality is going to be tested because there are certain teams who maybe didn't have the greatest days that they wanted to, but going into tomorrow, even if you don't do enough to qualify for maybe the winner's bracket, which is what you're aiming for, if you can at least start to build some momentum and find sort of the way that you're going to approach these games, then you can recover. We've seen teams go into losers round 2 and still make it to the finals and perform, and so all hope is not lost. And even for some teams that maybe have had a bad day, it might have only been one set, so you go into tomorrow new, refreshed, and you pop off.
And I think, Zeph, I don't know if you echo those sentiments. This has been a variety of different things you could look at. There's teams you could say didn't perform. There are teams that you could equally look at as saying, wow, they already look like it's match point finals and they're coming to play.
And it's going to be super interesting because ultimately this is that opportunity going into day 2 where some teams, they get to figure out the meta a little bit more here and get more comfortable before we get towards that match point, because especially when we were talking earlier today with Snipe, I mean, think about these end games. Getting into the top 5, that seems to be the easy part. Figuring out how to absolutely win the rest of the lobby, especially when you got to find that win on Sunday, that's going to be the catalyst that these teams who are now ahead on the scoreline get to take advantage of and use the extra time to their advantage.
And speaking of Catalyst, we've seen Catalyst, Newcastle, Rampart. Can I interest you in a Gibraltar? We know what the meta is, Lace. So from your perspective heading into tomorrow, what's going to be the thing that these teams need to do to separate themselves?
Look, it's following the meta is quite easy, but, you know, like we talk with Zach or some of the Valkyries that are sort of coming in, you know, people are sort of trying to change that little bit. But the thing is that I feel like it will stick tomorrow. And what we find is a lot of teams are starting out very slowly and then, like you guys said, kind of having that snowball effect later on in the matches. But, you know, like you said, there's still many more games to go, elimination bracket, winners bracket, so it's kind of just, I'm not saying they're trying things out, they probably should have done that in scrims, but, you know, they are still trying to go test to different teams and swap the meta slightly to get that edge.
Yeah, and I think that is going to be a question mark. Do you look at the little moments of Virtus.pro and Zach Mazer having some of the caustic come through and people saying this could work, the Valkyries on E-District, the rotation, knowing how fast you need to move. Is it going to be something where it's tried and true? We just need to wait, be a little bit more disciplined on how we throw those Newcastle walls down, because we keep getting burned in the situations where someone is being a little bit more patient than us. All of those are going to be questions that these players will have a few hours tonight
in Japan to think about and show up tomorrow, hopefully with the right answers. And we hope you'll show up as well, as we should let you know when that is. So the schedule, as it kicked off today, we had 3 series. We will continue our group stage and have 3 more series tomorrow. It will be Group A's turn and Group C's turn to go for the double headers. A versus C, B versus C in the afternoon, and then A versus D afterwards. We've got some amazing content for you as well tomorrow. Let's take a look at a preview of what we've got in store.
When you're walking out on the stage to go like lift that trophy with your teammates, nothing really compares to that. Nothing like sets you up for like the overwhelming emotion that's gonna hit you.
How do I know if I'm saying it right?
What does it mean?
How do I say right there?
What does it mean?
Yeah.
Oh.
Oh.
Yes.
What?
Same me.
You guys are going to love that one. And we certainly had a lot of content being done for this event, and we'll unveil most of that throughout these next couple of days. So what a night. What a morning, what an afternoon. Guys, thanks so much on the desk. Jayhawk, Zephyr, and Lace closing it out one more time. I've been your host, Rainde. From everyone here at Daiwa House and all of you in Japan and watching from home, good night from Sapporo. We'll see you tomorrow for day 2.
To be another huge win for Fnatic! Come in, swoop in, clean up, and claim game 3. You use your fists. Anything you can do to get the damage. Kill, take the game. Let's go! GoNext again. We'll win here in Sapporo. End of 4 stage 6. Continuing their merry way towards a winning moment in the final game today.